Okay, good evening. It's 6 o'clock, and I welcome you to the September 16th meeting of the governing body. I'll call this meeting to order. If you will give your attention to Councilman Duncan, who will provide the invocation, stand as you are able, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Do my best to get through this. In a minute. Thought this would be easier, believe it or not. I think as most people know, last week my mother passed away, somewhat unexpectedly. First of all, I want to thank everybody, literally hundreds and hundreds of people who've reached out, expressed their condolences, and offered assistance to us as a family. I will say that my mother grew up in this town. She is a Topeka native, and she loved this community. She did everything she could when she could to give back. And when I say give back, it wasn't just the big stuff. You'll find a lot of people in this community have the small stories. They needed a ride to the grocery store. They needed the help with their vet bill so their cat or dog could get taken care of. And in some case, she'd simply just help people keep the lights on. I would sit up here a lot and I would often say, I'm about to take this vote, but my mother is texting me and saying she has different thoughts. Why are you doing that, Spencer? Are you sure that's the right thing to do? And she took every opportunity she could to remind me that my role here is to take care of and represent the people, period. She never missed an opportunity to remind me to stay down that path. And so I've appreciated that, obviously. I will tell you, every meeting that I left here, she was the first phone call I would make, so she could tell me what she thought, because she watched every meeting, and she could give me her feedback. And I promise you that while she wasn't the only voice in my head, she was the loudest that I always told people represented the people in this city. And so it isn't just my loss. I tell people it's everybody's loss because that voice is gone. And I will say that I know everybody out there at some point in time has had somebody like that in their life that they have lost. And so with that, I ask everyone to pray. Let us take a moment to pause and reflect. As we gather here tonight in service to our community, we acknowledge that our work is built upon the efforts, sacrifices, and dreams of those who came before us. We remember the neighbors, friends, and loved ones we have lost, those whose presence shaped our city and whose absence we still feel. May their memory inspire us to lead with compassion, humility, and dedication. And may we honor them by striving to build a safer, stronger, and more hopeful future for all who call this community home. Let us move forward together with respect for one another, gratitude for the opportunities before us, and commitment to the responsibilities entrusted to us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First on the agenda, roll call. Madam Clerk.
Mayor Padilla.
Here.
Councilmembers Hiller. Here. Valdivia Acala. Here. Ortiz. Here. Banks.
Here.
Kell.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Dobler.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
And Hofer. Here. All right, we have 10 present.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a proclamation. Unfortunately, the requesting party is not going to be able to be here this evening to accept the proclamation, but I don't think it's any less important And so I will read it from my phone. Okay. A proclamation by the mayor. Whereas Welcoming Week is an annual national celebration that highlights a growing movement of communities committed to becoming more welcoming places for all, including immigrants and refugees, fostering mutual understanding, connections, and belonging. Welcome Week, and whereas Welcome Week will take place from September 12th through the 21st, 2025, uniting communities across the globe, including Topeka, in celebrating the theme, Stories We Share, which calls us to celebrate differences and find common ground through the stories that connect us during Welcoming Week. And whereas the city of Topeka values and honors the richness of its cultural diversity, recognizing that our community is strengthened when all residents, regardless of origin, language, immigration status, faith, race, ethnicity, ability, income, or identity, are welcomed, respected, and included. And whereas immigrants and newcomers play an indispensable role in Topeka's vitality, starting businesses, nurturing social ties, enriching our cultural landscape, serving in civic roles, and contributing to our collective prosperity. And whereas Welcoming Week provides a platform for residents to come together through storytelling, shared meals, artistic expression, civic engagement, and grassroots events, building bridges and deepening a shared sense of belonging for all. Whereas a formal recognition by the city of Topeka through this proclamation reinforces our commitment to unity and resilience, ensuring that Welcoming Week is not just an annual event, but a foundation for year-round inclusivity. Now therefore, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, Kansas, do proclaim the week of September 12th through September 21st, 2025 as Welcoming Week. I call upon all residents, community organizations, businesses, schools, faith institutions, and civic leaders to join in honoring this week by performing inclusivity, amplifying diverse voices, sharing stories that bring us together, and building strong connections across our community. In witness whereof, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, do hereby affix my official signature and the official seal of the City of Topeka, Kansas, on this day of September 16, 2025. Thank you very much. Okay. Next on our agenda, Madam Clerk, consent agenda.
A is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Spencer Duncan granting Christ the King Catholic Church an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at C concerning noise prohibition. B is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez allowing and approving city expenditures for the period of July 26 to August 29, 2025, and enumerating said expenditures therein. C are minutes of the regular meeting of September 9, 2025, and there are no applications.
Okay. We've heard the consent agenda is read. Is there a motion from the body? I have a motion to approve by Councilman Duncan with a second from Deputy Mayor. Are we using the?
Yes.
Okay. We're all ready to vote then.
Brenda, just so you know, I'm trying to use my application and it's not working.
Okay. We'll make sure
Okay.
we ask for your vote.
So,
Thanks, Mayor.
so Councilmember Valdivia Acla?
Yes.
Okay, we have 10 yes, the motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Move on to agenda item number 4, action items. Madam Clerk.
A is a charter ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez, amending the city's charter ordinance levying the transient guest tax, revising the structure to allow the city to recoup its investment costs of Hotel Topeka.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. Mayor and members of the governing body, Braxton Copley, our Deputy City Manager, will lead us through this item.
Braxton.
This item basically establishes an 8% transient guest tax at Hotel Topeka. And that amount will be captured over what we're calling the base year. The base year will be 2025. So basically the amount that the hotel will generate this year for transient guest tax will continue to go to Visit Topeka and the city of Topeka, 10% to the city of Topeka, 90% to Visit Topeka. So that will continue to flow through. The increment above the base year is what will go specifically to the city of Topeka, and that will be one of the two methods of recapturing the costs that the city has incurred for the acquisition, operating expenses, and capital expenses for Hotel Topeka. Josh has prepared a spreadsheet that basically shows both the CID revenue, which is approximately $4 million over the 22 years of the CID, as well as the transient guest tax. And so we're looking at approximately 30 years to get to the current level. It's about 17.7 million between bonds, interest on the bonds, capital, and operating expenses. Staff would request approval of this item. This item was presented to the Policy and Finance Committee, and there was there were a couple of options presented to them. This is the one that Transient Guest Tax Committee, and this is the option that the Transient Guest Tax Committee supported, and this item has their recommendation as well. Gladly stand for any questions and would respectfully ask for approval.
Councilman Duncan.
Thank you, Mayor. As chair of that committee, this really is, from our perspective, a procedural move for something that this body has already approved. When we approved the sale of Hotel Topeka, it already had laid out what was going to happen, and that include us capturing the transient guest tax funds. This is the piece we needed to do to actually tweak that in our current ordinances to make that happen. We looked at some other options, but we felt that since the body had already approved this option, that was all we needed to do was make that very simple change. The only change we made that is different is our current transient guest tax percentage is 7%. We've upped this to 8% just at this location, and everyone seems okay with that, Endeavor Group and everyone else, because that gets us what we need over the period of time to close the gap. So we really did view this as, you folks already said this is what we should do, and we just wanted to make the what I'd consider the procedural change in the ordinance to make, so we can keep the hotel deal moving forward. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hero.
Thank you. I thought you said Jill. Thank you. Just to recap, because this is kind of confusing and we've had some feedback, could someone, either Councilman Duncan or staff, clarify what pieces would go together to do this repayment to the city, and how long we expect it to take, and whether all of the expenses that the city has incurred are included in what we're hoping to get paid back?
So I'll repeat myself. Currently, we stand at $17.7 million, and that's for the bond principal, as well as all of the bond interest, which is approximately $5 million, as well as all of the capital expenses and all of the operating expenses. This is one of two components. This is the transient guest tax component. The other component is the CID. We are still in conversations with the county about whether we do a single CID over the entire campus, or we each do our own CID for our individual parts of it. So to get to the 17.7 million, we're looking at approximately $4 million of receipts from the CID over the 22-year period. And then we're looking at the delta, which would be 13.3 million, which would be over an approximately 30-year period from the TGT increment based on the 8% TGT on Hotel Topeka above the baseline increment.
And if the things grow and thrive as we hope, that could pay off sooner.
There are about 100 assumptions that went into the calculations in terms of the revenue stream, the expense stream of operating Hotel Topeka and the Manor Conference Center. We all hope that it goes gangbusters and that we repay ourselves over a much shorter period of time.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, I'll just.
Councilman Duncan.
Yeah, this is obviously one piece. I mean, we've spent a lot of time going over the and I'll push back a little. It's more than two pieces, right? It's the CID and the transient guest tax, which are direct monies. We also know, based on projections, there will be increased sales tax revenue, and we also know that after a period of time, this property goes back on the tax rolls. So all of that is part of the calculations beyond just those two numbers that I think every projection we've had shows a payoff in a reasonable amount of time. So
Thank you so much, and it's 10 years for the tax rolls,
yes,
right?
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further questions? Councilwoman Valdivia Acala?
Mayor, thank you, Mayor. I'm on the fritz on my signal, so apologies, but I will not be voting for this, basically. In the community meetings, NIAs, on and on, that I've been having, and bringing forth the deal that, the city has received for the hotel sale and the payback amounts and timeframes, and folks are not happy with it. So they believe it's too long. They believe that there is a possible better deal out there, even though I told them that if that it's to be considered, that, expenses are going to continue with the hotel. But at any rate, because of that reason, that is why I'll be voting no on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Seeing no other hands up, I have a motion to approve by Councilman Miller. Is that right? Correct. Okay. The second by Councilwoman Hofer. So we'll take the vote, please.
And this requires 7 votes to pass, so you can vote. Okay, and Councilmember Valdivia Acala?
No.
Okay. Okay, we have 9 yes, with Councilmember Valdivia Acala voting no. The motion carries.
Okay. Move on to agenda item 4B, Madam Clerk.
B is discussion with possible action of an ordinance introduced by the Public Infrastructure Committee consisting of council members David Banks, Sylvia Ortiz, and Neil Dobler, confirming an agreement of the governing body with the Marney Properties LLC and the City of Topeka to abate city special assessments penalties to certain property in Lawrence Bay Estates when the property taxes and special assessments are paid in full.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body. Braxton Copley, Deputy City Manager, will lead us through this item.
Thank you. So this item is before you. It came at the request of the property owner of 3 lots. This is the Marney lots in Lawrence Bay. There are 3 lots, and basically the request was that the city agreed to waive the total amount of penalties on the specials, in return for which the owner will go ahead and pay the total amount of tax, including penalties, of $10,416, as well as he will pay the total amount of past due specials of $82,593. It's important to note that these 3 lots have been included by the county in the tax foreclosure sale that they filed the petition this last week. So in the event that, and this governing body just needs to be aware that they are included in that. If there was a decision to not take the owner up on this offer, then those will go on the block, and the city will have to be in a position of spending its money to try to protect its specials by bidding on those lots and purchasing them at auction, and then putting them into the land bank, and then trying to negotiate some sales price to get back some portion of the amount of the specials and the amount that we have to pay to purchase those. So for that reason, staff is recommending that we go ahead and proceed with accepting this offer to receive the payment of the past due specials of $82,000. And I will point out that the waiver of the penalties for the specials is not going to impact the city of Topeka. If those penalties were paid, they would be kept by the county. So the city is not being financially harmed out of this deal. So with that, gladly stand for any questions. And again, staff's recommendation is to accept the offer and pass the ordinance.
Okay. Councilman Dobler, do you have a question, or you want to make a motion? Because we do have somebody signed up to speak, so I'd just soon have them. Okay. We have someone to speak. Daniel Twemlow?
Is learn more information than what is presented ahead of time. So the tax sale piece of that just adds a whole nother layer of not feeling like there's a lot of transparency in any of this. I do feel like it exacerbates the distrust when we're not being fully transparent about the actual impact that we have here. Number one, the city of Topeka, the citizens of the city of Topeka are a part of Shawnee County. So this $47,775 does impact the citizens of the city of Topeka. So that's want to make that clear, that while it's not putting the burden on the government over here in Topeka, it is impacting the citizens. So that is still money to us. But also the fact that these properties haven't been built on. They're surrounded by houses. There are lots of other houses that are built in the cul-de-sac behind it, all around, and the property just next to it has been paying their specials and their property taxes for 12 years, the whole entire time, as well as the others. In the amount of $14,033.93 a year. They've been paying that for 12 years, as well as everyone else, doing their due diligence, which means that if these properties had been built on like they were supposed to, like all the other lots had been built on, then we're actually not putting in this impact, the lost property taxes, from whether there was an actual house built on there. And if there was a house that was, relevant to the houses next to it, we're looking at the city of Topeka getting roughly $2,544.57 as part of our taxes, and all of the other specials. So you put that on for the last 14 years, and we're lost at $25,445.70, and we make all three properties that are sitting in that cul-de-sac, we're looking at $76,337.10 in lost property taxes with them sitting there. So that's not even all of those specials. So we're not really building a full picture here. And so my question is, why now? Why now are we coming forward with, it sounds like that question's maybe been answered because we're gonna lose these properties. We, not us, like they are, because I'm not really sure we're lost anything at this point. So I'm curious if not just the Klossman deal properties had the water utility rate, the special thing that they have where they don't have to pay any water utility fees or the readiness to serve. Do these other properties that are sitting in the middle, are they paying the ready to serve, since there are wastewater and fire hydrants, because there's houses all over, so all the infrastructure's there. So I'm curious if they've been required to pay all of that as well, or if like everybody has this deal over there. I do also want to point out that nowhere in this ordinance requires them to actually move forward on doing any building. It just says that we encourage that they develop on this vacant property. There's nothing holding them to actually doing anything. So it seems to me like we're just rushing through and adding on that bill of giving people who have money more tax breaks, while we're not really working on anything to fund the most vulnerable people in our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay,
Mayor?
Was it Councilman
Hello?
Valdivia-Alcala?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. I will not be voting for this. I understand the way that Deputy City Manager is explaining this. You know, it was explained to us also, please understand that this LLC is not asking for an RHID, which is what everyone is holding their collective breath about in the public, to see if the city's going to allow Klossman to, you know, get by with millions and millions and millions over the next 20 to 25 years of unpaid taxes if that goes through. So I realize it's not to the level, but this is the deal. I think we need to write something up specifically, like a form letter, that will say, if you're trying to get one over on us, okay, we've already done that, and we really want to stop that. Because the citizens need to understand, even though this is a very small amount, that somehow, you know, these kind of situations keep coming up. And my concern is that they are going to keep coming up at the cost to the taxpayer. So because of that, I will not be voting for it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Dober.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's keep this simple. Mr. Marney owes us $92,000 and change. He's willing to pay us $92,000 and change. He owes the county $47,000. I understand we're all part of the county. This is the city council acting on this tonight. There was a mayor here at one time that had his favorite saying, you can do something or you can do nothing. What's facing us tonight is an option. We can get something or we can get nothing. And I think it's time to get something out of a few of these lots at Lawrence Bay. Thank you.
Okay. Don't see any others. I see a motion from Deputy Mayor. Is that to approve? Yes, sir. Okay, and a second from Councilman Dobler. Councilwoman Hiller.
I just have a question. We're new at this, all these various redevelopment things that we're involved in, and of course at Lawrence Bay, there are lots of properties at hand and lots of conversation going on. Could somebody talk about, I personally am very much in favor of getting things going there. I get that. But in terms of what, are we setting some sort of precedent that for the rest of the properties, and that this is a wise move, or if you could just talk about it for a minute.
Councilman Dober.
If I could answer that, yes, we are. We're setting the precedent that if you come with your checkbook to pay your back taxes, we will certainly take those. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing further. We have a motion and a second on the floor. I do not vote on this. Okay.
Okay. Oh, it was? Okay, Cal was, okay. I'm sorry, let me get it here. Okay, hold on. What are we doing here? Sorry. Okay. We're gonna, so did you say? Did I have it wrong? You have it back. So dope. Okay, sorry
Back that
guys.
I can hit motion again and
You sure?
Councilman Dover.
Oh, nope. Here we go. Motion. You made the motion. Kel did. okay. But, okay, I'm trying to get this. Okay, we're gonna vote. Okay. Then- Okay.
Flip-flop that.
Go for it. And the mayor, you're not allowed to vote, but that's all right. That's okay. I know, I got it on my notes here. Yeah.
We're ready to
Okay.
vote.
Councilmember Valdivia Akla.
No.
Okay, and then he is an abstain. All right, so we have 8 yes with Councilmember Valdivia Akla voting no. The motion carries.
Okay. Move on to action item 4C. We have 4 people signed up to speak, but I'll let the clerk first read what we have for 4C.
C is an appropriation ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez, approving and adopting the operating budget for the City of Topeka for year 2026 and appropriating the amount for the purpose set forth therein.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body. Josh McInerney, our Division Director of Budget and Finance, will lead us through this item.
Good evening, Mayor and governing body. Not much to add. Tonight's just taking possible action on the budget. One thing I do want to add is the latest we can submit it to the county clerk is at 5 p.m. on October 1st. So that's just the next steps is whenever the budget's approved, we have until October 1st to submit the state form to the county.
Any questions for Josh? Okay, we'll go into public comment on this item. The first person I have signed up is Candace Stiles.
Good evening, Council. My name is Candace Stiles, and I serve on the board of the Topeka Metro Transit. Because of how the Metro's revenue neutral rate hearing was handled, Metro faces a $300,000 budget shortfall. That isn't just numbers, it's service cuts. $250,000 equals the cost of keeping one bus route going for a year, 12 hours a day. Cuts like that would hit hardest for people on low incomes, fixed incomes, and those who cannot drive, the very people that tell us at our meetings that they would like more service. In 2012, the city passed an ordinance saying that they shall levy 4.2 mills for the Topeka Metro. And for over a decade, that number hasn't changed. The result is that the Metro does more with the same resources until service is at risk. I want to thank the council members who have reached out with support and questions since my comment last week. I really do appreciate it. You all have full-time lives, other things going on, and taking the time to talk to me about this meant a lot to me. Tonight, my ask is simple. Partner with Metro to restore this funding through the city's budget. Without it, people lose access to jobs, school, healthcare, and groceries. With it, the city can keep buses running and lives moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Kalani Britt.
Good evening, council members and city officials. My name is Kalani Britt, and I am a member of First Congregational Church, and tonight I am sharing comments on behalf of Topeka Jump. We are here to advocate for investments in addressing 2 major community problems in Topeka: violence and the lack of safe, affordable housing. We are asking this governing body to earmark $2 million in the 2026 city budget to go towards the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and to invest in the Community Violence Intervention Program being launched by the Civic Coalition. Both of these solutions are necessary to create meaningful change here in Topeka. The lack of affordable housing has a direct connection to the community violence, amongst other things. We have heard that there might be amendments to the proposed budgets to include both of these items, though there have not been any specifics shared with Jump or posted publicly. My final note is on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Should the council fail to make a meaningful investment in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, The story will be that the council has for 5 years in a row failed to sustainably act on the #1 recommendation of a study that was commissioned by the city of Topeka. The 2020 housing marketing study was very clear that the best way we can address our affordable housing crisis, a shortage of at least 10,000 affordable homes and apartments, is to sustainably fund the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We want to make it clear that if this city budget is passed without any public funding for the AHTF, Topeka Jump will not shy away from stating to the public city's unwillingness to financially address these issues. Topekans are struggling to make ends meet and can no longer. We need affordable housing today. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry Clerk.
Good evening, Your Honor. She makes an interesting statement, but you guys are the last people that I'd want to give money to fix a problem. Your solution is go Topeka for everything. They talk about, you ought to have them as your investment people, 40% return on the money, this and that. But we got to let the market decide for the housing projects. When I think about the budget, I think about the income side. And I don't think the taxpayers have really focused on $125 million of sales tax that you guys have worked with the county and just given to the contractor, go Topeka. You guys got to start looking at some of this from an income standpoint. You got to quit advocating your power to go Topeka. You got to stop it. $125 million today, as you go through this budget, that could make a big difference. Literally. And another thing, how many times do you give money to people through Go Topeka that have foundations? I think you have one council person, she's not here today. I've heard her say many times that we should be going to the foundations. Why are we giving money to a company that makes $2 billion and has their own foundation? We ought to be contacting their foundations every day to fund what Jump wants. You could have a full-time, you could have a secretary just calling them up. You could have somebody make requests on the website. I'm going to do a little research between now and tomorrow, or the next day. But how many people from Go Topeka have, that you've given money from Go Topeka, have their own foundations in this community? Now, you could pick this thing apart. I appreciate the opportunity to come down and talk. That's nice, thanks. And what's really nice is you also have your meetings at a time where the general public can get to the meetings. Appreciate that. Our brethren at the county, they opt, to have meetings at 9 o'clock during the day. But you guys got to stop hiring consultants. You've got a request for 150 grand in there. Sometimes I feel defeated to come down here talking about changes that should be made, and because I just feel like at the final hour it goes on deaf ears. And I would hope that someday in the future this community gets a citizens commission to where we can really start getting our problems out into the daylight a lot sooner. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And we will now go to that portion we can. Number 3. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Did I not call her?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Danielle Twemlow.
Thank you. While I know that the city manager started these budget discussions long ago, which I'm very thankful for, the community sessions that were held throughout the year, I'm really sure how we got to a place where we're days away from needing to put in our budget while still not having a lot of solutions. I do appreciate the hard work that the departments did where they came forward with the cuts that they had to make and trimming things all around to make things work. But I still don't see a lot of solutions moving forward. There's a lot lacking within our budget, as in transparency to the community about the ways that we are going to work some of these things in, a consistent revenue stream for things like affordable housing, for mental health, for our unsheltered citizens, and for the community violence initiative that is up and going. Many of these things despite really assistance from the city. So I'm hopeful that things that are brought forward and the commitment that the city makes moving forward is to continue to look at ways that we can find these revenue streams. Over the last several weeks, multiple suggestions have been provided over the last year, multiple revenue streams with improving ordinances that have funding streams within our incentive building, TIFs, CIDs, and RHIDs, being able to have a rental registry, having funding streams that can be coming through by enforcement of our vacant property ordinance that has not been looked at in quite some time, increasing penalties on contracts for developers and other people who are doing contract work within the city that are abusing the parameters and that we give very, very lax treatment on. It just takes a concerted effort and the amount of energy that's been given to Klossman and other properties at Lawrence Bay. That same energy needs to be put into looking for solutions to find these revenue streams, including Topeka Metro, considering we are a capital city that does not directly fund public transportation. So we do need to look at ways to make that right as well. So hopefully, I'm going to stay committed and reinforce the words that Jump stated, that should we not continue to see these efforts be made in an equitable way, as some of the people in our community are afforded, then we will continue to show up and ask for them. However, I do want to be mindful that those solutions have been brought forward by community here at council and behind the scenes in meetings over a long period of time. And I think that needs that kind of respect back, that work is being done, and that those conversations are being had. And if they're not always being communicated, that's not just community's problem either. So with that, I always leave that door open to have those conversations or phone calls on the solutions that are evidence-based and that have a positive return for our community as a whole.
Thank you. And Danielle, I apologize for not seeing your name and skipping over. I just was very anxious to hear what Henry had to say. Okay. Now we'll move on to considering amendments from the governing body. Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I I would like to move my conversation till after. I believe there's something else that'll be coming here in a second. I'd like to move that to the conversation at that time. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Dobler?
Thank you, Mayor. I think a lot of us have heard from Topeka Transit this week. I don't feel like we can cut a route serving this community. I think it's up to us, obviously next year when this all comes around again, perhaps the hearings can be done in such a way that there's no confusion about which entity we're discussing, but that just didn't happen this year. So what I would like to do is propose an amendment that will place $250,000 in the miscellaneous non-departmental fund, 101 general fund. It'll add that line item for $250,000. I would like to take that $250,000 from the current Tyler project, which I understand, thanks to Josh, that we have an excess there in that project budget. That should leave a little bit for contingencies, and that should make it square. That money would be then transferred to Topeka Transit shortly after January 1 or whenever it's appropriate. I would point out as I make this motion that the action that was taken on the R&R essentially cost Topeka Transit $350,000, but they've pointed out that really what's important here is the $250,000 for a route, and they will absorb the other $100,000, which seems pretty reasonable. So, Mayor, I will make that amendment. And yes.
Can I second that motion with some comment?
First, I want to ask, do we need to vote on that amendment? We just, okay. All right.
Have a discussion on it, yes.
Councilwoman Hiller?
Oh, it's okay with me if Councilwoman Valdivia-Alcala has some comment.
Just go ahead, please.
I wanted to open up a look at the whole budget
Okay,
situation, so.
okay. Councilwoman Valdivia-Alcala?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I wanted to second it, but this is what I wanted to say too. I think Candace's with Topeka Metro was very forthright with the information that she came forward with, because the governing body received that email. I would just ask in the future that the administration would have that importance of customer service to have been able to respond. If I'm wrong, if they were given a response, even if that response was no, and I'm not aware of it, then my bad. But my understanding was that there was never a response that they received, but I know that there was a really good push to talk to, council people, et cetera. So I just wanted to bring that forth, and again, if possible, for a second to Councilman Dobler's amendment. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. And with that $350K, if we're sending $250 towards this, I'd like to see $100,000 sent over to the housing fund, and we can just work within it that way. If that's not something that the rest of the city council will support, that's perfectly fine. But I will say that I have not seen in the amount of time I've been here, and since 2016 when it started to be an issue a while back, and then 2017 when I was working out in that area, that I have not seen Topeka Metro work this hard for this amount of money and care about a portion of our community like they should have been doing for Montera years ago. So if we're going to fight this hard for that funding, which I absolutely understand, we also need to fight for those residents in Montera to be able to give them, who have asked for years and years and years, to be able to have some service out that way. I hope that we can work together to make that happen. But because of this amendment, I support it as long as we can go down that road, and hopefully we can do so. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to acknowledge Councilman Dobler's amendment. I think it's well thought. But I do want to let the public know that the concern did not go unnoticed. I had been working with the city manager to come up with a document that you have in front of you right now, which basically says the same thing. So it just goes to show that while we did make a vote, we did listen, people work in their own circles to get things done, and my immediate contact with the city manager was to help us find this route here, and I agree with that amendment, and I appreciate you bringing it forward, sir. So we have a motion from, to approve from Council for the...
Actually, I was on the thing to speak, and then they must kick me off when they did the amendment.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Kell.
Okay. Last week I voted, or 2 weeks, whatever it was, to approve exceeding revenue neutral. A lot of people in my district use the bus service. A lot of low income and people that can't drive use it. Hopefully with this, there are no future cuts for this upcoming year. And one thing I've actually been pushing for several years is using the bus stops as advertising to generate more income for the, so hopefully they'll look into that as one aspect of things. I know there are certain bus stops that won't be, due to city code, won't be eligible for that, but I'm thinking of a good example of in my district, in my neighborhood, is down at the bottom of the hill at 37th and Truman area. There's 2 bus stops right there. There aren't any driving hazard views that could be easily used to generate a couple $100s or a couple $1,000s, whatever the pricing is for that, for each bus stop. So those are kind of my only comments, is hopefully there are no cuts, and hopefully maybe they can generate that lacking money that would have been from the revenue neutral to gain that to maybe advertisements. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hofer.
There. Okay. Josh, I have a question about the Tyler project. It is not finished yet, is it?
No, we're still going through implementation.
Okay, so we really need to hold that 100,000 in contingency until it is finished, correct? Or
That's the risk you run. If you lower contingency, we'll have to find, and there's an issue, we'd have to find funding elsewhere. But it's ultimately a policy decision up to the council. And just for background, the way that was funded in the first place was 2021 surplus from the general fund, just as a background. I don't know if that was mentioned, but that's the risk we run. If we take contingency and there's a need for more funding, the city manager would have to appropriate to cover for that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did get a chance to talk to Candace, and I do appreciate our conversation. I will support this. I do jump on the bus once in a while just to check it out, and there's been so many changes. It used to be they'd stop at every corner. They don't do that anymore to try to keep the routes going. And so some people are walking 2.5 to 3 blocks to get to their bus stop. And again, if we can figure out some type of way to get the mod to go over the interstate to the much needed Paradise Plaza, Ybarra Place, and Pine Ridge. I get so many complaints about how they've got to take the bus, go downtown, come back around, blah, 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 and their groceries they're melted, they're unthawed, and that's really sad. I know you talked about that would mess up the flow in the area that they're in, but I think we should be able to brainstorm like we brainstormed with this money and say, hey, we're going to be there 2 days out of the month, 1 day out of the month to support the elderly and the disabled. I think that would be really, really big, and I think my constituents would really appreciate that, and I think your ridership level on that would go up, because I see so many people walking, and I see so many people that walk to the bus stop and carrying their groceries, or they're walking to the dollar store, which we all know doesn't carry the groceries that they really need. So I hope that we will put a lot of thought in that conversation that we had, and the board will reconsider something, because I think it's very, very, very vital. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I want to make sure, Madam Clerk, where we are on this motion, on which amendment.
Right. So what I have is the amendment from Dobler, seconded by Councilmember Valdivia Acqua, where we place $250,000 in the miscellaneous non-departmental fund from the current Tyler, and take that from the current Tyler project budget. Transfer that to TMTA after January 1 or when appropriate.
Okay. Any question about the motion? We have a second? Pardon? Yeah, I know. Just restating it.
Yeah, it's just not showing.
Yeah. Make sure everybody's paying attention so later on they didn't say we missed something. Okay?
Team sport.
So we're ready to vote then, ma'am?
Yes, I'm trying to get it to work here. Oh my goodness. Wonderful. Okay. Are you ready? Read it. Okay. Here we go. I'm sorry. And then this one is Holly.
Uh-oh, it says Marney.
I know, I'm sorry. I can't get it to go.
Brenda, you just need one of us to second it, and then you can change it later.
I don't know what's wrong with it.
Let's B.
Please wait for one, but, okay.
Are we ready to vote, Brenda?
Yes, hold on just a second.
Not
Okay.
quite. It thinks it's the Marney amendment.
Just cross that out.
Exactly. I'm going to go old
I
school.
promise you, I'm trying.
Technology.
Okay. So now let's go to the next one. Okay.
On the house.
Dobler's amendment.
You can do
Okay,
that.
now you can vote. Second. Okay. Christina is the second. All right.
There we go.
Okay. Councilmember Valdivia Acqua?
Yes.
Okay, we have 10 yes, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, continue.
Sir, I'd like to make a motion.
Councilman Miller?
I would like to make a motion to use $100,000 that was left over from that 350 contingency towards the housing fund.
Okay, so we got Miller.
Have a motion. Do we have a second for discussion?
Okay, hold on. You guys are just gonna have to wait.
Councilman Dobler? I think our screen's still messed up.
Okay. Okay, we got it. And so we have Councilmember Miller is the first.
Councilman Dobler?
Did you say Dobler? Okay. Okay.
For discussion? Does we have any discussion on that? City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to point out that the contingency for that project is $350,000, so that eats that up entirely. As Josh mentioned, if we do go over budget, we'll look to identify additional funds for it. If I could, just maybe suggest, we do have some economic development funds that we might want to look at that as a resource for this $100,000 amendment. So just want to put that out there.
Councilman Miller, would you consider changing your motion to, at the city manager's suggestion from the fund, that you would take still the 100,000?
But it would just come from a different spot?
Yes, sir.
That's fine,
Okay.
as long as it gets done.
Okay. Restate the motion, would you please, Brenda?
So I have to amend the budget to move the $100,000 from economic development funding to the Housing Trust Fund.
Okay. So I'll reaffirm the motion from Councilman Miller and the second from Councilman Dobler. We understand, I'm ready to vote then.
No discussion?
I thought we just had it.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, some more discussion.
We can't sign up, so I respectfully would not support this, but maybe not why you think. We've been talking, as the group here has talked about for literally years, about getting this Affordable Housing Trust Fund going. And the conversations, I've even gone back and researched some of the early stuff, some of you weren't even here for that, but was to get to at least $1 million before we started to disperse money. But there was conversation that we really should get it built all the way up to $5 million before as a goal to get it started. The deal is, if my understanding, and I've spent a lot of time with people back when we first got it started to get the language right, to get it targeted to LMI people, the way the JUMP folks had and envisioned it, as well as itemized the kinds of things it could be used for. The idea was that it would be a live fund that would roll year after year and fund not just one time, but fund affordable housing. Particularly what we talked about at first, as I recall, was rehab, getting into properties where LMI families where they couldn't afford to do the things that they needed and get weatherization done and so on to keep the cost of living there lower. And we haven't done that. I personally, as I think people know, have felt that it was very much a community project, not just a city project. All of our housing things are community as opposed to fixing streets and things like that. So my inclination is that we talked about having private funding for it very much at first. But between JUMP and the city, truthfully, nobody ever identified who'd go out and raise the money, and it didn't happen. Periodically, the city put a little chunk in again, but we haven't developed that renewable source. I personally believe that's still possible, both with resources that might come to us for suggestions, but also the JUMP Coalition has 34 member congregations. If each of them just came up with $30,000, not necessarily their own, but a source, 34 times that would be over $1 million a year that we could get rolling with. So getting a system established that would really refresh that fund every year through private sources is one option. The other, and look at all of us with all the pressure that we have not to raise property taxes and not having enough to fund our core services right now. It seems unthinkable to consider taking money out of our budget for it. Yet, if the taxpayers wanted to vote to tax themselves, a sales tax that JUMP could help promote in the community that could go on the ballot so the voters could decide whether they wanted to publicly fund affordable housing. 1/10 of a cent sales tax would generate $3.6 million a year that could help with the rehab visions that people had, as well as supporting our nonprofit housing development organizations, the CHODOs, like Habitat and Cornerstone and Cent. 1/20th of a cent would generate $1.8 million a year. I had hoped that when we pulled all this budget conversation together that we could identify and nail a number of those, but this one being an important one. We ended up not having the conversations and bringing it on an agenda in that way today. I don't know that we can decide it tonight, and part of what I wanted to talk about, city manager wants to do a retreat in January with the council and really look at all the different issues, programs, delivery, staffing, and so on, as I understand it. And if we could set ourselves a goal to really figure out how we want that to work long-term with the kind of robust money coming in that it needs, I would encourage us to defer that vote until we can do the full thing. Thank you.
Councilman Duncan.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was going to talk about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund tonight, but since we're here, let's just do it now so we don't have to repeat this later. So I'm going to support this amendment, but I'm going to offer a friendly, you can take it or not here in a minute, and that I think will help everybody's concerns a little bit. But here's the thing. I will say I came in here tonight wanting to use some of the money that we just used for the Metro, which I totally supported. So that put a little hitch in my, a little glitch in my plans to sort of slide some of that money over. I knew coming into this budget cycle with facing the deficit that we did and some of the challenges we had that the $2 million was not reasonable in this budget cycle. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be making efforts to put some money into there. There are funds we can draw from. My concern continues to be, of course, these are one-time expenses, and the goal is to find a long-term funding source to continue that revenue so that we're not doing this every year, not leaving people, including the board, out sort of in limbo trying to figure out what they have available to them. I will say, though, as I looked at that, we have 2 more shots at putting money in this Affordable Housing Trust Fund for 2026 before this year is over, even though we're doing the budget this evening. The first is we're going to take a look at the CIP again after we're done with the budget, and there may be alterations in there that either free up money or allow us to move things over that have this conversation. Things like this, contingency fees that we can take a look at. And so I've been looking at those to maybe make an amendment during that process. And then at the end of every year, as we enter the next year, we always get an opportunity to make budget amendments as we enter that year, because we then have a clearer picture of what our sales tax collections are going to be, what the full scope of our budget is, and where we're at the end of the year. And my plan then was to also do 2 things. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board right now is looking at recommendations that they can provide to the city to help provide that long-term funding source. And if we had those recommendations by that time, it's a discussion we can have then. Or I can do exactly what we could do tonight, which is dip into these one-time funds until we figure out what those recommendations are in 2026 to bridge that gap. So I don't feel like if we don't make a big move tonight, I want everyone to understand we got 2 more shots at this. And I can tell you, as someone who's sit here who obviously has been very active in this, I'm planning to take those shots also when we do that. What I would suggest, if it makes people feel better, is maybe in this amendment, we simply say we're going to take the $100,000 out of the Economic Development Fund, and then if what is left over from the $100,000 contingency money from that project can then be put into that fund to replenish it. That way we're making sure that fund continues to have the dollars for later. We're not losing those dollars if they don't get used, but we're also making sure that this motion can be done. So the contingency is not off the table for staff with that. They get to retain that buffer. So that would be my alternative suggestion, but I'm going to support it either way.
Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. It looks like there's someone ahead of me to speak. I want to make sure that person has. Is there?
Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond across the table. I am really fine with deciding the long-term funding scheme much sooner than January. We have a lot of different things that we've been wanting to do and wanting to decide. And if we could decide all of them before January, it'd be fine with me. But certainly this one has lingered long enough. I think we've got some good prospects on the table. I'm torn about voting for $100,000 because it's not enough to make much of a difference over the $1 million that we already have. And I think what's more important is for us to make sure we've taken care of our own priority stuff with the money that we've got, but get this long-range plan settled. So I don't know that we would gain a lot by doing something tonight, but I feel it, so thank you.
Councilman Miller?
First.
Councilwoman Ortiz?
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support either or, but I do want to say this, and I agree with Karen. This is a we problem. This is not just a City of Topeka problem. You know, and I say this over and over again, and I think about this. When the mission said they were closing their doors because they couldn't do it anymore, they needed $1 million to keep those doors open. And the whole town got involved. People at my work, little kids were selling bracelets, cookies, all of that. And I even set up a movie. I teamed up with 501 and then COVID hit. And, because I want to do my part too. And then COVID hit, but they kept those doors open. They raised $1 million in the short amount of time. You know, I have people say, well, we've got 7,000 jump members. If everybody gave $1, that's $7,000. If we gave $10, and so what we're doing and what we've done for years is we've just pointed the finger back and forth and back and forth. It's a we problem. So let's kind of band together, and then when people start putting, because I'm going to have another movie, and I'm going to invite everybody from Jump, and then let's embrace everybody, and let's help them. Whether it's $1 or a free love offering, let's do that. Let's encourage one another, and let's start seeing where we could go, not where we're at. Let's see how. Let's put. You know, my church, we did that. We paid off our mortgage because we asked everybody to give what they could, along with prayer. And guess what? Before we knew it, we had people that could only give $10 a month, people that could give $20 a month. But at the end of the day, we all see what we're going through. We all understand, and it's all of our money. So I would like to see us just embrace each other, support each other, encourage each other, and do what little it all adds up that we can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to point out that the Tyler project will probably go into late 2026, early 2027. So I just wanted to point that out if we're considering trying to bank on $100,000 out of Tyler. So just wanted to put that out. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, can I speak after Marcus?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think Councilman Miller was going to speak.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman Hiller and Ortiz, for your statements, and Councilmember Duncan. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support that I'm hearing as well for it, because I am also all for sustainable. But I am not about just continuing to talk about sustainable. Okay? Just a little bit ago, Neil just said, we can either do nothing or we can do something. So I'd rather take a baby step if that's going to be a step that we take. Just let's do something, right? Once I know that we have a little bit of wiggle room to do so, I think we should. Now, you mentioned a 1% or 1/10 of a cent. I would support that personally with my own funding. I would support that tax move. You know what I mean? But I don't know how many people would. But I know my position on it. Okay, so in this moment, in this spot, that's what my thought is. So I hope that we can get that put together, and I hope that Topeka Jump would support that and put that together as well with us. But right now, I don't know if that's ever going to come. So again, want to do something and not nothing. My second question was, I was going to ask for the completion date of the Tyler project, so thank you ahead of time for doing so. What I will say is that we can do a bunch of talking and hoping, and I'm glad that we have some thought about getting something done or talking about at least before January, because it's incredibly important. But I don't know if that's going to be. But I know we can do this. So I think we should. Thank you.
Councilwoman Valdivia-Acala?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to know, City Manager or whoever, if there is a way to get the 10, I'm sure it's in some article, but if someone could research it, the 10 largest corporations, for-profit corporations, and I want to get an understanding if they are paying any kind of property taxes or what kind of incentives that they are currently getting. Because I think that what we need to do is we also need to be asking the large corporations that utilize a lot of the labor from this city to start getting more involved instead of less involved. I'm talking about the Goodyears, I'm talking about the Bimbo, I'm talking about the Mars, I'm talking about the Frito-Lay, and I'm not just talking chips or candy, I'm talking dollars. Because most likely they have the dollars and this can be a public-private partnership. And I think that asking people, individual folks, for money is fine, but we also have to understand where we are in, with the economy right now, how hard some tariffs are hitting, and that oftentimes folks that give are already giving to their own churches. For example, Our Lady of Guadalupe, they could tithe, they do their regular tithing to Our Lady of Guadalupe, but then they could get envelopes for 3 or 4 different other tithing places. And so it makes you think of that Bible verse about the little old woman that came in and she gave her last, her last dimes or her last cents into, for the greater good. And I think that that's fine, but it's not the only way that we should be looking at, is to either tax people or wanting them to do fundraising more. They're all good ideas, but we have to include the large corporations in this. And honestly, they need to start taking more responsibility. Thank you. That would be my suggestion, but I will support this. Thank you.
Okay. Further comments? All right. So we have a motion on the floor in a second.
I have one question for clarification. Councilmember Miller, are you accepting Duncan's friendly amendment?
I'm not.
You are not? Okay.
Is it an unfriendly amendment?
Pardon? Can you state the motion for us,
The
Brenda?
motion is move to amend the budget to move $100,000 from the Economic Development funds to the Housing Trust Fund.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Ready to vote?
All right. Councilmember Valdivia Aquila?
Sorry, but I would have voted for the amendment, so I won't vote for this. Thank you.
I'm sorry, yes or no? I didn't understand.
I won't. If there's not going to be an amendment, it's just a straight up what he said initially, then it's no.
Okay, so no. All right. And then Councilmember Hiller? Okay, we have 8 yes with council members Valdivia, Aquila, and Banks voting no. The motion carries.
Well, somebody should have said that it wasn't in Topeka.
Okay. Councilwoman, did you have something you wanted to share? Valdivia Aquila?
No, I don't. I was trying to determine where Montero was, and I just found out. Thank you.
Okay. Go south. Okay. Further amendments from the body. Councilwoman Hiller.
If it's the right time to go back and look at the overall picture, as I've been mentioning along the way, I've been trying to look at all the aspects of both the budget itself as well as the capital improvement plan and budget to try and pull it together. And in the process, really saw all the work that the city, all of us did, that the city manager and staff did, but yet they were moving money from one bucket to another and we weren't really getting ahead. Looking at the capital improvement plan and going, oh my gosh, we have to make sure that we can keep doing projects. There is strong interest in this council as well as from the public for us to limit our borrowing and make sure that the tax dollars that we do spend are going 100% as much as possible into the projects themselves, not into financing. So looking at ways to make that CIP leaner and make sure that we kept the money there for capital projects. Maybe some years from now, switching some out of that into a fund that's a cash fund just for capital projects so that we're really optimizing our dollars. But that, and we'll get to the capital budget in I guess a couple of weeks. The concern that I had and the driver to keep looking at that capital budget and how to work it was that the current budget proposal we have suggests taking 2 mills out of the debt service plan side and using them to help with the deficit on the operating budget side. And I was very, very concerned that if we made that move even one time, similar to our tax cut a couple of years ago, we'd never get it back. And the forms that the city staff gave us suggested moving two mills over for next year, but then slowly getting it back, and within a handful of years, needing to raise, well, we'd need to raise taxes every year to get it back from the 9 point, the dropping to the 7, and go back to 8, go back to 9, and that projection said go to 10 point, and that's raising taxes almost inevitably, because with the budget challenges that we've got right now, the expectation we'd have extra money on the operating budget side that we could just move back over is pretty darn slim. So with that, I looked inside out and backwards at the budget itself, looked at the CIP, and then in the process tried to back up and say, what are we trying to do here? One of the things that really came out from the public was, you know what, we need to regain that population we've lost. We need to refill our neighborhoods. So for us to have a conversation, maybe not tonight, but at that retreat in January, of how do we make sure that we're doing the best things that we need to do to regain that population we've lost, to have Topeka be a place people want to live, not just work, but live, work, play, raise their families. And with that, I've got a whole list. I'm not going to hand it all out tonight, but I've got it. I can hand it out later. But working on redevelopment of our city, redevelopment of our downtowns, redevelopment of our commercial zones that have empty small places for shops, offices, and retail of various kinds, and redevelopment of our neighborhoods. Councilman Duncan and others are working on things like vacant property through changing our culture of property maintenance. The Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala and I have been working on. It all ties in with keeping these properties up, getting the properties back in action. We can have all the rehab programs we want in the world, but if we don't have people to move in, we're just moving folks around, right? So sitting as a council, as a body, and saying, what all do we need to do? Are there ways we need to reorient the programs and services that we have? That helps us relook at what programs are contributing value and what staffing we need and so on. Much bigger than we can cover all tonight. But in terms of, particularly since the city manager, since it turned out we weren't going to be able to vote on the CIP tonight, so we've got 3 steps to follow. We vote on the budget tonight, and that includes, as I understand it, the dividing line between what our taxing, what our property tax goes for, dividing up what goes to the operating budget, what goes to the debt service fund, and what goes to the special liability fund. My understanding is that we may have a suggestion, a small one from the city manager on moving a little bit from special liability to operating. What I want to focus on is making sure that we leave the debt service money okay. And what that means is that we would have a $2.8 million shortfall on the balanced budget that we've seen in our big fat books. And so we know that we've got to get 15 million out of that budget by next year. For me, it was, how can we get started? How can we get ourselves started down that road? Can we cut some right now, for sure, with a motion? And you're getting a proposal that's got only 6 elements, 7 elements to it, to reduce our operating budget tonight by $700,000, to make a commitment that we would get another $2.1 million out of the 2026 budget by the time we've had that, after we've had our retreat in January. There would be 3 council meetings in February, so to set a goal of working together with city manager and each other around the table to talk about what was important, figure out where we could slim it up with as profitably and productively as possible by the 18th of February, which is right after that 3rd meeting. preserve the mill levy rate for the debt service fund, and again, look forward to working together on this through the end of this year and making some big decisions by the middle of February. So the short term, those immediate cuts for this evening would be, we had proposals to add 3 different studies and consulting contracts when we got our budget books. A Lexipol study for the police department on what's an optimal staffing level for the police department. My argument with that one is we're trying to start working ourselves away from contracting with people instead of doing things ourselves inside the city. We have a brand new police chief with all sorts of credentials and experience, and also an assistant city manager over him who similarly has policing experience and expertise. It would seem that we can do that internally. The annual contract proposed for Lexipol is simply to have some assistance in writing our policies and looking at how we're doing. Seems to me we've done pretty well on writing policies. What we've needed to work on is perhaps how they're implemented, but the policy writing is okay. Then the third contract was ADA consultation, and that was to inventory where we could improve our ADA accessibility, and as I understand it, anything from how our computer screens are laid out to a variety of things. My suggestion would be that we ought to have staff that already knows how to do that, and if they just need to do an inventory, that's fine. If we don't have the right staff, we can connect them up with people who know. We have plenty of people in town that could help. Second big, so that totals $220,000. Second big one, and I know it's been a favorite of some, but I think we should eliminate the property tax rebate program. It's not big enough to address everyone in town who's low income. All of our citizens have the opportunity to get the homestead property tax rebate. Doing things like that, particularly at a city level, cities generally don't do it. It's administratively really heavy to have to check everybody's tax returns and confirm their income level and so on. I think we could, councilman that proposed it wanted to see how it would go. I just think that at this time, we need to prioritize taking care of our city, and that we can let others, the state in particular with various tax rebates and tax returns, take that role that they usually have. The third item on there is just $23,000. In the course of doing the SSG allocations, we realized that the grant to PARS for the Safe Streets program was duplicated, and so it's been worked out that that $23,000 is available. And last is actually additional revenue in trying to turn over all the rocks, and Josh was so wonderful at answering questions. The issue of our fire stations had come up in our discussions, and the fact that many of them were historic, and also that we had recently spent $6.9 million in updating them. So I inquired about whether we were going to be applying for historic tax credit rebates, and the answer is that the staff was working on that, and we should expect to be able to get, I rounded it up to $207,000 from 200, Josh, so it would come an even total. But that we should be expecting $200,000, and with that, that's how I came up with the $700,000 that we could vote on this evening. I think those are solid numbers. I hope we can vote on a number at the level of $700,000 or more. If people have substitutions or a better idea for what those cuts could be, I'm really open to that. Just felt like I would try and do the work to get this going and get us started on this journey. Thank you. So I would so move this motion.
Mayor?
Okay, I have a motion, and Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala, are you going to second or do you wish to speak?
Is this just for, if I second it, Mayor, will it be for discussion only?
Yeah, we'll still have discussion, yes.
Okay, so that's what I would second it for discussion.
Okay.
And then I would like to speak.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, you did have your hand up.
I was wanting to.
She does want to speak, she said.
I'm good. I'm going to speak after this motion, so.
Okay. She made a motion. Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala seconded. Okay, further discussion. Councilman Miller.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Hiller, I really appreciate you putting in the work to put some of these numbers together. I understand the PARS duplication. I will let you know I'm not for eliminating those proposed consulting contracts. I understand that it may look like a burdensome cost, but I have not seen anyone that is heavily involved with the police, and including our civic organizations that support this. I think that it's going to be a good thing long term, and allow us to continue what we were some years ago with being very progressive in our police force for our community. So I don't agree with that. I need some more thought on the historic tax credit rebate. But one thing I for sure am not for is eliminating that property tax program. I don't know if we've had a year where it's run out.
But new.
Right.
It's new.
New, never run out, that's fine. I think it's still working as it's supposed to. We save a little bit of money every single year, and we help a portion of our community every single year. So taking that away just because doesn't feel right to me, so I will not be supporting this motion, as stated. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala, or...
Thank you, Mayor. I did have some concerns. I will not support removing the consultant. I think it's for Lexipol. And let me use an example. We can say all we want that consultants are bad. I mean, we can say that till the cows come in. And I think really when you talk to residents that keep track of what's going on with city council over years and years and years, their concern oftentimes with consultants is that the consultant comes in and then the study gets shelved and never utilized. So we ourselves in public health and safety, and Councilwoman Hiller has been on the council forever, when we had the consultant come in with May 8 Consulting, because of her vast experience, she brought a wealth of ideas and recommendations that are still being followed through and implemented. Councilwoman Hiller didn't come up with those on all her years on council. I didn't come up with those with being a brand new council person. The difference is that we utilized that study aggressively, and it is helping us change things up in Topeka. And that's what I believe this police consultant will do. Because if we believe that we can do all of the studies within our own departments, I think we're being naive. So when it comes to the rebate, I think to pull that rug under the most needy of citizens is kind of just like, I can't believe that that's actually being encouraged. And I do have a question though, Councilwoman Hiller, help me understand what is happening with PARS? What's the amendment?
The issue was that there was a line item that had carried forward, and they had been encouraged to apply for the social service grant money and did get an award. And so the 23,000 was worked out by staff, but to handle the overlap.
And so it sounds like you're saying it was a duplication and PARS is aware of all of that.
Yeah.
Because I know that there had been some concerns by PARS with a couple of things that were happening that were a bit aggressive by a council person, and that were really bothersome to me to understand how a director was being treated. And then, so that one is there, and then the rebates. So overall for that big package, that adds up to the 700,000, I wouldn't be able to support it in its entirety. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to, if we're going to vote on this altogether, I can't support some of this, but some of it's I can. I want to talk about the Lexipol study and the Lexipol annual 40. And I would like to take that out of our budget, and I'll tell you why. There's $1 million in the police, I call it the drug fund, but they gave me a proper name for it.
Forfeiture fund?
Forfeiture fund, and they gave me another name for it, federal funds. There's $1 million in there, and it can only be used for certain things. And this is these two are some of the things that it can be used for, the study and the annual. And I agree that we need it, and I totally agree with that. But I would like to see that out of our fund, especially when we have $1 million in that. Now, I should have found my email before I started yakking, but I didn't. Let's see, Nick sent it to me. Again, there's only certain things. You can't use it for employment salaries. You can't use it for, I think we can use it for cars. So it's kind of like a one-time thing, you know. I think this study is good. I think it will help us all understand some things that maybe we don't, and give an account to make sure that our ordinance are correct. But if they want more money in that fund, I think they need to go out and do some more drug busts. That's just how I feel. I mean, you know, but $1 million sitting in that fund, am I correct, Josh? That's what you told me?
From our last 2024 audit, it was 1.6.
1.6?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I left the 6 out, but 1. Everybody forgets about that, but I don't forget about that. I think it was used to training of dogs, dog food. I know we've got radios with it. I think we did buy, and I wanted staff to look this up, I think we bought a couple cars with it. So we have that, and I'll make a motion to pull that and use that fund. Eliminating the property tax, how much money, that's 250 period, Josh?
Yeah, so 220 is directly for disbursements to people, or to applicants, then 30K, it's ran by the CRC. And just for some context, and this is about a month ago, to date, distributions are about 152,000 to applicants, for context.
Okay. I agree that this is some of the most vulnerable people that use this fund. And I know because I give out a lot of applications and I help with a lot of applications. It's very sad that on our elderly, I can go with them on 5 things and I say, fill out this, fill out this, fill out this, to help them through the winter months. And I'm concerned with what we're going to do with LEAP this year because our president has cut that funding out. So I'm very concerned with that. So if we want to take these one at a time, I could support that, but other than that, I can't. And I thank you for your hard work on that, Karen.
Thank you. I have others signed up. Do you have?
It would be a clarification on what she said, not an objection. Because if this is in here because it's in the general fund line item and the 220, I'm sorry, the Lexipol 2 are 190 of that 220,000. And so her suggestion would still be to take it out of what we're funding with general fund, just fund it but still fund it with another fund, right?
I don't want to put words in Councilwoman Ortiz's mouth, but that's what it sounded like to me, unless she didn't want to get rid of it entirely. She just wanted to use another funding source outside of the general fund.
Which would mean we could still leave that 190 in as something we were deducting from the
Yeah, if you didn't
general
replace
fund.
it, yeah.
Yeah, just
Okay.
a little dizzying. That's why it's taken a long time.
So make that clear, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make that clear, Kim?
Josh, you would leave it in the police department budget, but for the Lexipol, that they would pay for it out of their forfeiture funds?
That's what it sounded like to me. Councilman Ortiz wanted to move that funding out of the general fund into the law enforcement fund to be paid out of.
Councilman Ortiz?
If we move that to the law enforcement fund, that would still come out of our general fund, right?
No, they're two separate funds.
Okay, two separate funds.
So it
Okay.
would reduce-
I just want to make sure, because I'm getting a little,
No, you're good, yeah.
I just wanted to take it out, but they could still support it by that fund.
City manager?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. So as far as the one-time fee for the $150,000 for the police study, we can take that out of the forfeiture funds, remove it from out of the general fund, and transfer that cost over. The Lexipol annual, it's $40,000. I was talking with Josh about that, and that's $40,000 annually. My only concern is that at some point, because we replenish that fund off and on, correct?
Yeah, it's pretty stagnant fund, and the reason it's been accumulating revenue over the last couple of years is just the market's so been favorable with interest revenue, and so that's not a sustainable funding source for it. But it's
Obviously, $40,000 isn't going to like drain it, in 2 years. But I just want to point that out, that that's a recurring cost that would be hitting that fund.
Councilwoman?
But for at least 2026, we can pull out that 190.
Absolutely.
And then figure it out in 2027.
Absolutely, ma'am.
And see, they have $1 million there. We're in the deficit, we're in the negative.
Right, and that's why I was saying, like, it's not going to drain the fund tomorrow.
Right.
But I just want to point that out.
Okay, we're on the same page, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Deputy Mayor?
Well, pretty much, Lexipol, I thought that was something that the citizens were asking for also. But I have to kind of go with the elimination of the property tax rebate program. That is something every year when we talk budget and talk mill levy and all that, we always sit there and throw that out there is, here's this option. And we've done it again this year, is here's this option for those that, if your taxes were to go up, there is this program. And so I can't sit there and support something that we've sat there and thrown out for the public to use and then try to eliminate it as an option. So I do agree that if there is that PARS duplication, we need to look at eliminating any duplications throughout the budget, which I'll talk about in a little bit after this motion, but that is something that, I think the ADA consultation thing is a big deal right now also. Our city is not being very compliant on a lot of ADA issues right now. So I think having someone coming in and having the ADA council going at it also can improve some of those problems. I know one of the problems is gone now. It used to be our scooters, used to be always being issue laying in front of those. But I've also had several complaints over the last week of accessing sidewalks that have now become indented and now are filling with mud and other debris to make it where someone that has a walker, mobility scooter, wheelchair are now getting that all over their scooters or getting and not able to step over it. So it's becoming an issue that we need to be able to look at some of those across the city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Duncan?
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple clarifications here. First of all, can someone tell us what the ADA consultation is doing? Like, who are they consulting with? What is the end product supposed to provide?
Steve to come up, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening. We put out an RFP. They're looking at all the city facilities that are open to public, to make sure that they are in compliance with the ADA rules and regulations. They're also looking at things such as toilet heights and desk heights. We did receive a state grant for up to $200,000 to pay for that, and an energy audit of the buildings at the same time. We are currently in negotiations with the consultant for a contract for about $153,000. But it is a reimbursement contract, so we do need to keep money in the budget for next year because we need to pay the cash, but we would be getting the funding back through the grant through the state.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Glad I asked. All right. I'm a little confused as to what action we would be taking on the new revenue from historic tax credit rebate. Like, what do we, What is our vote doing on that?
I didn't customize how to say it. It's just that if we get $207,000 in revenue that's not currently in the budget, that would help reduce our deficit by $207,000.
Okay, but
That's
there's
all.
not a proactive step we're directing staff to do with this
Well,
vote?
make sure they finish the application, I guess, and get it in.
Okay, well, that's fine. I mean,
But
that's
it was just, it was not reflected in the revenue in the book.
fine. Okay,
So in terms of relief for our deficit,
and then under this motion, because I can only take it as I'm reading it, assuming the motion includes this entire page, we're also then saying the city manager by 2/18/26 would have to find $2.1 million in cuts.
it says that the council and city manager together, but yes.
Okay, I'm just, and then, I mean, obviously, I absolutely don't support eliminating the property tax rebate program. That's no new news to you. I created that thing. In year 2, it's given out a little more money than it gave out in year 1. I've personally talked to CRC and some of the folks who've utilized it. The State Homestead Act does not cover everybody's tax bill. It covers a large percentage, and in some of these cases, that program has helped fill the gap for that. So I can't support that. I guess my last comment would be, it seems to me, based on some of the conversation we've had, that we should do these separately as opposed to one giant amendment and go through each piece in here and then maybe take the votes that way. That's just my just my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. That's what I'm getting from here, because we have different things that we support and don't. So that way we can each have that opportunity. Councilman Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank Councilwoman Hiller for the work that she put in providing us with this grid, I'm going to call it. When I hear the word consultants that doesn't come from within our structure, it makes me a little nervous. I think that the city as a whole used too many consultants. If I couldn't do my job in my lawn service, then I shouldn't be doing it. In so many cases, so many instances in our city, we just say, let's just use a consultant. That makes me a little cautious. The revenue from the historic tax credit rebates, I'm not clear about how that works, so I'll have to sit down with Councilwoman and talk a little bit more about that. Definitely, I would not support eliminating the property tax rebate. I think that if we did something like that, the citizens in this community would definitely voice their opinion against it. PARs, I'm completely lost on what we do as a council or city for PARs. It's just not clear to me. I would have a difficult time trying to come up with enough positive to support some of the issues on the grid. But I do appreciate the work that Councilwoman put in, sitting down with her myself. I know she's a numbers person, and there are some positive, but I see that there are a couple of things that I would not support on it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I think I made my point earlier. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So, Councilwoman Hiller.
If I could help a little bit with this feedback, if people wanted to vote on each item, when I look at this based on what we talked about, under the Lexipol annual, it would just be a vote to convert it from general fund to the forfeiture fund for funding, which would then relieve the general fund. To not do the ADA consultation, yes or no, it would reduce our shortfall. Eliminating the property tax rebate program, if people want to do it, again, there are literally thousands of variables in this budget. I went through and looked at some that would be significant. If people don't want to do that, then they could decide whether to substitute some other cut of $250,000 that would still give us something significant. If we leave it, then we simply will not have made that dent in our shortfall. The $23,000 and the $207,000 really don't need a vote. We already have netted the $23,000 by settling out that contract overlap. And the $207,000, the staff has been planning to work on that rebate. So it's just, in a way, a report that we have some money coming in that we didn't know about that would contribute to saving a little money overall. Then the setting the goal that we would arrive at 2.1 million or whatever that shortfall on 2.8 would be a vote. And then preserving the mill levy rate for the debt service fund would be a related one, if that helps. And then setting, then that last one to say that we would definitely work together with the city manager. That's already pretty well set by the city manager, but that way we've all affirmed that we're in on the deal. Again, I just wanted to get things going because I just think we can't not do anything. That's my personal opinion.
Well, listening to the governing body, I'm sorry, Councilman Doe, go ahead. Listening to the governing body, I really think that we need to address these individually. They certainly have their preferences, and so I think if you want to make a motion to consider
just roll them.
The individual items.
Okay.
Did you make one already, Councilwoman Ortiz?
Yeah, and so.
Would you correct me?
Well, I was just going to say there's a motion on the floor, so we need to either withdraw that motion and then make each amendment separately.
I can withdraw it. I made the motion for
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Okay.
That's fine.
And it was seconded by Valdivia Aquila.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So we vote on, or you've withdrawn it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And Councilwoman Valdivia Aquila, she could say she only wanted for discussion anyway. So.
Councilwoman Valdivia Aquila, do you withdraw your second?
I do.
Okay. All right. So moving forward individually.
Based on the conversation, the first motion would be to move both Lexipol items from the general fund to the forfeiture fund.
Is there a second? Second by Deputy Mayor. So are we ready to vote on that particular item?
Yeah, hold on just a moment. Nick, is that the law enforcement fund?
And does that include the study and the annual?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what I said.
So we understand the motion.
So we have $190,000 from the general fund to the law enforcement fund or the drug forfeiture funds.
Okay?
All right. So you can
We're ready to vote?
Yep. Councilmember Valdivia Aquila?
Yes to moving it from fund to fund.
Yes. Okay. All right, we have 10 yes, the motion carries.
Okay. You make your second motion?
Yes, if I can check with Josh first. Josh, what you were saying is that this 30,000 is actually going to be a net zero in the course of 2026?
Which 30,000 are you referring
The ADA consultation, it looks like an expense, but it's going to be reimbursed by a grant.
to? So the way, it sounded like the way Steve
Sorry.
explained it is that we will be spending $30,000, but then we will get money back as a reimbursement, yeah. So the way conceptually to think about it is we'd spend $30,000 out of the general fund, but then if we were to get reimbursed, that revenue would come back in through the general fund as well.
So, City Manager?
Thank you. Mayor, I just want to point out that the team is still working through the details of that grant. We've secured it, but we're still working through, I guess, some of the final signatures and accepted, so I just want to point that out. So if we do get the grant, then yes, it should be a net zero. But I mean, we're pretty positive that we'll get it, but I just want to point that out.
Can I ask a question? I think we've kind of heard this here, is that, and I appreciate what Steve said, is that, in listening to Councilman Banks as well, do we not have staff on board that can evaluate our needs, our ADA compliance needs, without going to a consultant? City manager?
Sir, it requires a specialized knowledge, particularly of the building codes and all of the ADA. We do not have a staff member to do that. If we did, we wouldn't be consulting with it. I mean, we need to, there's different things going on here. There's the study that Steve was talking about in terms of bringing in a skilled architectural firm to do an ADA assessment of all of our city buildings to make sure that we're in full compliance with the current codes, because those continue to ratchet up, right? And it's been a long time since we've had that. So bottom line is, we don't have the staff to do it.
Well, I appreciate that. I wanted to hear that out loud, because that's what everybody alleges, that we have our own staff. Why can't they do that? Well, there are reasons, because there are specific qualifications that are required, and if we don't have them on board, we have to bring those consultants on board. Correct? Steve?
I just got information from staff, since we weren't prepped for this, said yes, we have finalized our grant from KDHE for the assessment and energy audit. So we do have the grant money coming. We're just working on final execution of the contract with the firm that will be undertaking this study.
So what it means is which...
I'm sorry, Councilwoman
sure.
Ortiz. Huh? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. This was supposed to help eliminate back and forth, so I know who wants to talk, okay? So help me out here. So I want to make sure I understand that a vote to eliminate this would do what?
Well, I'm not sure, because if it's a net zero anyway, and we just didn't know it, then it's a fact that we could save this $30,000.
I was going to say, so
I
then,
think so.
do we need to take any action on it? That's what I'm getting at.
So what you would need is the $30,000 authority to support the cost, support the potential cost that we would have it. Then we would get revenue back in once we were reimbursed on the income statement, or on the revenue side of the income statement.
Okay, so I'm clear with it now, that this is a necessary piece in order for us to get.
Yeah, to get the reimbursement, we would have to pay out of the general fund, hoping to then being reimbursed on the revenue side on the back end.
Okay, so is your motion still to eliminate?
I don't want it to be interpreted. Is there anybody on the council that wants to motion to not do the grant at all? I mean, at this point, they've got it covered, it sounds like.
We could just pull it.
I think so. I guess this represents a confusion in our budget when our budget when shows the general fund money, but it doesn't show the grant money, so that you don't know there's other money available for expenses. It makes it hard to look it over. And
City manager.
But correct me if I'm wrong, team, we didn't know about this grant when we were preparing this budget.
We were working on it for a couple months, but we just recently finalized it.
Yeah, it was an ad.
Yep.
It was one of the late ads.
Yep.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we need to take any action on this then.
No.
Okay, let's move on. Your next proposed piece is to eliminate the property tax rebate program. Is that a motion?
Per the discussion, I'm not sure the support is there, so we can move on.
I don't think the support is
It would
there.
be whether somebody has a substitute. Again, every one of these are hard decisions. And
Yeah.
so I put this together both to get action if it was appropriate, but these are hard decisions, and so I'll let it go. The other two, the 23,000 and the 207, are facts. They they will reduce our deficit by 230,000, but we don't need to vote on them.
Yeah, so we can
Facts.
take action on that.
So the next one would be to move to set a goal that the council and city manager, let me do the math here. 200, we're at 250, 220 and 230 is 450,000 from, so we need 2.35 million to get to 2.8. So set a goal that council and city manager would have another 2.35 million out of the 2026 budget by February 18th, 2026.
Okay. Councilman Duncan?
Can I just make a recommendation that we circle back to that after we've had all of our discussions to see if there's any other amendments brought forward this evening that would reduce that number?
Sure.
I don't know that there are, but seems like we could, if we do, we could factor those in, just so we can come back to it, but just a suggestion.
Absolutely. And with the next one, which is to preserve the current mill levy rate for the debt service fund. Are people ready to look at that one, or do you want to wait?
Councilman Duncan?
I mean, kind of critical either way.
I guess I'd like an assessment from Josh as to what that would mean for this budget.
So if we did that, so our current debt service mill rate is 9.717 in '25. And the thought behind moving it down to was we have a debt service fund balance of $18.5 million. Now, that is a really high fund balance. Our bond and interest payment is $20 million. So long story short, we'd be lowering our revenue in the general fund by $3 million for this budget cycle. So we'd have to submit a balanced budget. We'd either dip below the 15%, or we'd have to identify on the expense side about $3 million more of cuts.
Okay, so if we did this, just to clarify, tell me if I'm wrong, then one of two things would happen. We'd either dip into our reserves, which would move us below the 15% threshold that we've established as our standard, or we need to find an additional $3 million in cuts, basically tonight, before we leave here, to make sure that we have that offset.
Correct, and I want to say $3 million of cuts within the general fund. I never specified which fund, but yes, the general fund.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Councilwoman Valdivia-Arcola?
Thank you, Mayor. So I think we've talked about this before, but I don't have access to where I put the notes. If we go below that 15% cap that we had, will that affect our ratings any? Will that lower our ratings?
So, Councilman Alcala, I hope you can hear me. So yes, that would most likely have an adverse effect on our rating to where we're AA now. So we'd look at that's one of the strong criterias Moody's and S&P use when rating our bonds. So that would probably most likely have an adverse effect, lowering it down.
And have we ever had that before when we have, no, let me just say, does anyone know, like in the past, 5 to 7 years, have we ever lost our AA?
I've been here 5 years, and the answer would be no, but to go back further, I'd have to do some investigating on that.
Okay, that's what I needed for now. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was caught off guard that Josh has been here 5 years already. That's all.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Hiller?
If I can help moving along. Some of the issues at stake here are, we've talked about whether we can trim some things out of the CIP. We haven't done that yet. It's possible to slim that down, and various people have been involved in discussions. Another element is bonding only for 15 years instead of for 20, so that we are saving money long-term. We've also, nonetheless, Josh has run a bunch of projections for how the payouts would go and what the fund balance would remain. We want to make sure that we don't have, if we ever, the original proposal was to take 2 mills out which today's money is 1.4 million, so double that is 2.8, and it's been rounded up to 3 million. But the deal is, once we move that out, we've got to move it back. And given the status of our general fund revenue projections, ain't no way we're going to be able to make that up. And so the proposal there is to protect that, not only the capital, the debt service fund, but then if we do protect it, it will become healthy if we reduce our bonding and projects as well. And there's a real manageable way to do that, I think. So we've got that for next time. The issue is, if we were to decide that we were at a point where it was healthy enough that we could move money out, should it be moved out to a fund that's reserved for cash capital projects so we keep getting our work done, rather than moving it into some other use, which is the general operating budget. So those are the things to keep in mind.
Councilman Dover?
Thank you, Mayor. So we're really not moving money from that, so we can't move money from that fund, correct?
No.
We're just making the input smaller.
Yeah, so conceptually speaking, we're diverting revenue going into the debt service fund and placing it in the general fund. Now, one fail-safe that we have, and Councilman Dober alluded to it before, if we move those 2 mills just into the debt service fund, once it's there, it can't be moved out. That's state statute. But if we move it into the general fund, and let's say 8 months, 12 months from now, we can change our mind, the general fund does have full transfer authority to where we can, for lack of a better term, renege that commitment. So it would be really no harm, no foul at this point. If we move from 2 mills from the debt service to the general fund, because it could always be transferred back in. But if we put it into the debt service fund in the first place, we couldn't have that option.
Mayor.
Okay, Councilman Dover?
Oh, go ahead, City Manager.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, and also too, Josh, our projections also assume a 0.5 increase, right, going back into the debt service?
Yeah, so kind of conceptually going a couple months back in the CIP, we talked about what does it look like keeping a flat mill levy overall, but if we lowered the debt service fund by 2 and place that in the general fund, and then slowly ratchet that up by $0.5 mil going forward. That way, if the will of the governing body was to keep that mill levy flat for the next 5 years, that projection was taken into account, but we were just kind of switching up where the funds were being diverted to.
And that assumes those shifts also are projected into our future deficits.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so we're well aware that as we move forward, as we start ratcheting back up our debt service payments, we're well aware of how that contributes to our future budget projections, to include our future deficits. So we know that it's not necessarily going to increase our taxes, but it's just a deficit that we have to deal with.
Okay. Councilman Dover?
Yeah, thanks for that answer. And the second part of my thoughts here, I guess, is that if we do this, and I like the idea that there is a fail-safe that starts increasing that over the next few years, if we do that in conjunction with what Councilwoman Hiller is talking about in terms of the CIP, so we think about 15 years instead of 20, we look at projects that we can eliminate or reduce. I mean, ultimately, that should intersect at a balance in the debt service fund that equals the need we have from a reduced debt service. Is that reasonably accurate?
Yeah, so the idea in mind, and I can send this out to the council just on various scenarios, but have over 100%, our policy, minimum fund balance policy for the debt service fund is 10%. We're at like over 100% right now. So the idea was to spin that debt service fund balance down to where, hypothetically, if we ran what's in the CIP for, let's say we did 20-year bonding and it's at 5% interest rates, we'd be spending that down to about $4 million in 2031. But in the meantime, there's some more money going into the general fund, but there would be a fail-safe to where we're to curb cost cuts in the debt service fund going forward. We ratchet that mill back up. So it's not, I don't know, don't hold me to it. It's not perfectly one for one, but the fund balance in the debt service fund would definitely be spending it down to a reasonable rate. That way we could take advantage of putting more money into the general fund.
Okay. Councilwoman Hiller.
I've got in front of me the debt service projection that was handed out when we got the original CIP from the staff and the original debt service projection, and that's what alarmed me. So it won't take long. 2025 debt service, we'd have 9.717 mils going into the debt service fund. If we give away 2 to the operating budget, it goes down to 7.717. By the next year, we need 8.217, so we've got to have an extra half mil the very next year to pay the debt service on what the staff originally projected. Now, that's the year we're still 15 million in the hole on the operating budget, so we're not going to have an extra half mil to give back to the debt service fund the next year. That stays that way only for 2 years and then goes up to 9.217. Another half mil. Once again, we're digging out. How are we going to have extra money? It goes to 9.717 the very next year after that, goes to 10.217 the very next year after that, and goes to 10.717, a full mil than we have today by 2031. Step by step, needing more. We as a city have only raised our mill levy one time in the last 16 years. This would demand it every year, or somehow we'd be so flush over in the operating budget, which it doesn't look like we would be. So how would we have extra to give back? That's the dilemma that I really was trying to address.
Councilman Dober.
Thank you. I agree with you. 2 things. So one is, you mentioned the increase, which coincidentally turns out to be half a mil, which is exactly what you talked about. I like the idea of setting a debt service limit that we have to live with. And that means projects that get put into the CIP have to meet the ability to service the debt on those projects. However we have to do it, whether it's shortening the term or eliminating projects or downsizing projects or whatever it takes. It seems like the cap on the debt service fund will drive our ability to do projects. I think when we take a look at the CIP in a month or so, that's really going to become clear. So whether we do this, whether we put half a mil back in, it doesn't matter. At some point, we've got a set amount in there every year, and we're going to have to live within those means. Or you guys will have to live with it.
Yeah, easy.
So where that leaves us is right now with these last 2 proposals, do we really at this point, like Councilman Duncan, want to circle back, or do we take action on these tonight?
See if anybody else perhaps has some proposals.
See.
Okay. So are we going to speak, are we still speaking on Councilwoman Hiller's issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to speak?
No, I was once I was done.
Okay. Councilman Dobret, oh, you're off. Okay. All right. So that's my question to the governing body. What's your pleasure? I mean, we talked about this. Councilman Duncan?
Is there even a motion with a second?
Well, there was a
There's
motion, but no second.
Correct.
And the motion's on the preserving the debt mill levy rate, to keep it the same.
Okay. No second. All right, so are there other amendments that the body would like to bring forward?
I'm sorry, Mayor, can you tell me what the motion is? I lost that.
Okay. Just a second. Councilman.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor.
She's,
Do you want me to repeat it?
the questions about what just happened, so she's.
Okay.
The motion was to preserve the current mill levy rate for the debt service fund. So not to change it, not to give away money that would have gone to the debt service fund over to the operating fund.
So then, can I clarify, Mayor?
I can't hear you.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Okay, so with the motion that you just stated right now, that would mean negating the ideas to take the 2 million out of the debt service and put it over to the general. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Now, Deputy Mayor?
Okay, thank you, sir. It's more of a statement, kind of going along with lines of Councilwoman Hiller's looking at the budget. As we've learned over the last couple of years, it's a living document. We've been having to go back after it throughout the year all the time. I'm going to refer back to a mantra back from my military days. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Not calling anyone else here stupid, just kind of the way we live. I'm looking at stuff like our complete street guidelines. I think we need to put any halt to any of those projects due to we're looking at projects that are putting all these bells and whistles, all these little extras on these streets, when we just need, myself and the citizens are saying, we just need to work on the streets. When we add all that extra onto the streets, it turns around and costs more, and then we're not able to get to as many streets. One project's less than a quarter mile long and it's on the edge of town. It's not going to affect that many residents. We're working on our main arteries, the ones that are traveled the most. That's going to affect the majority of Topekans. And also those arteries without sidewalks, just putting in a general sidewalk on those. Good example is the stretch between 29th and 37th on Kansas. A lot of people will end up walking that in the street to avoid that. Like I said, complete streets, we don't need the extra sidewalks, extra wide sidewalks. We don't need the bike lanes. We don't need all the extra turning lanes. We need basic street maintenance and basic street services. We need to quit dumping our money into failing infrastructure. We need to look at what's going to cost us in the long run. And if it's looking at the firehouses that are costing us $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year just in repairs, is it more feasible now to be looking at our short-term goal to get a new firehouse built rather than dumping all that money into those? I know that's something we've already talked about. Then we just need to look at major projects that we're kicking down the road and saying, okay, maybe this can wait a year or two. Well, we've seen over the last couple of years, those projects get more and more expensive every year. We need to look at what's our priorities that benefits the majority of Topeka and work on those projects and get those done at the lowest cost we can get them done at, because if we, like I said, we wait 2 or 3 years, that may be a 30, 40, 50% increase. But going back to the main point I have is we need to start looking at main arteries, doing the basics, getting those roads up and running correctly, and not worry about some side street and making sure they have extra wide sidewalks and a bike lane, when honestly I have not seen anyone use a bike lane in Topeka, and the people that they're designed for don't ride in Topeka. They ride out in the county, and so they can go as fast as they want and not avoid all the traffic inside the city. So we need to keep it simple, look at our budget, and eliminate the things that are costing us for the extras. You know, we need to do more but get less. The more projects we work on, at the less frills on it, we need to look at it that way. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Valdivia.
Thank you. I have a couple of things to add on as far as, I want to piggyback just a tad off of what Councilman, gosh, I just forgot your name, Kell. Golly, I'm sorry about that. Okay, Councilman Kell was just barely mentioned the fire departments. I just want to say something when it comes to the CIP and having to take a hard look at it, et cetera. We got ahead of it. District 2 folks finally were able to get ahead of that just a little bit, and community people with intimate knowledge of the different fire stations, and we had a meeting with the fire and city manager and Avery, et cetera. And there were just, and this is going to come up later, but just want to get this on the table, there was a voluminous amount of questions and concerns from folks in the district for not having a well-thought-out plan. It was a very base plan up front, with no plan A, plan B, plan C, if the phase-outs did not roll out the way that they want them to roll out, which would ultimately end up with all the construction that's going on around Topeka, with the bridges, et cetera, that would leave District 2 possibly without a fire station, all with a lot of the emphasis going to a new station at 13. So I just wanted to mention this very briefly because the input from what the District 2 folks were saying that know the community intimately and the areas around these stations that are vulnerable is that utilizing that CIP money to fix those stations up, because we have to learn how to have this as a shared suffering. We cannot have all the shiny bells and whistles, and to make the adjustments at the fire stations that are already there, because we are in no way are going to be able to afford these, even with this 5, 10, 15-year rollout. And the deep concern was leaving vulnerability with District 2 without all of its needed fire stations. But I just wanted to say one more thing too. When it comes to, we know in tonight's budget, there is not any monies that have been allocated for the community violence interrupters, which is part of Civic. It's very disappointing because meetings have been going on with the administration for over a year, and some of those meetings I have been into. And I was able to talk with the city manager in Avery today that they have a commitment, and I'm willing to work with this for a plan, a concrete plan moving forward, because Civic is not asking for Topeka government to to foot the whole bill on this. They are looking at a wealth of entities, but the strong desire is by community to have the city involvement financially some way. So while we do not see it in this budget, and we know Civic is still moving forward with hiring its community street team, that serious work can start being done right after this budget and into the first of the year to get a plan to make that happen. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Duncan?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I don't think these are earth-shattering amendments, but I guess you guys are about to tell me differently. So let's one of them definitely shouldn't be a surprise. One relates to downtown parking. You know, sometimes I think that we have to remember to see the forest through the trees, and that's kind of what this amendment is. And I'll present it here in a second. I think what it'll do is it'll help some entities in downtown continue to sit at the table as they look at downtown development long-term. So while I know that what I'm about to propose has about a $20,000 to $25,000 impact overall to our parking department and parking fund, I think that as we look at downtown, which has struggled to retain some businesses over the last couple of years, this helps those entities continue to work together to grow in the long term, which is much more economically beneficial to us, and solve some of our short-term issues that we've had, including, you heard someone come and talk to us a couple months ago about one of their concerns. So my motion is this. I move to retain the 2-hour parking on metered spaces along 8th Avenue between Kansas Avenue and Jackson until December 31st, 2026. This would just keep those hoods on just on that little stretch, and then it would allow all the other decisions we made about the rest of parking downtown that has already been made to continue to go forward along all the other spaces. So that is the motion I would make, and I guess if there's no second, there's no more discussion, but if there is a second, we can go from there.
Okay.
I will second, Mayor.
Seconded by Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala. Any further discussion?
No, I mean, if there's any questions as to why I'm doing it, staff may have some thoughts. We'll see.
Yeah. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Spencer, that's on both sides, correct?
Both sides, yeah, it's just that stretch on 8 between Jackson
Wanted to make sure.
and Kansas, yeah.
So reduce our revenues, right?
City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Councilman, I think that if we can just have the dollar amount as part of the motion, it would be reducing revenues by about $25,000, so that we can count that as part of the budget
Okay.
amendment.
Can we just include that? Can I set a friendly addition so that we would be So the motion would be to move to retain the 2-hour parking on metered spaces along 8th Avenue between Kansas Avenue and Jackson until December 31st, 2026, with a budget reduction of
25,000, sir.
25,000.
Okay. Councilwoman Hiller.
I'm going to abstain. I represent downtown. This has not been discussed with the downtown merchants at all or DTI board as far as I know, and I'm uncomfortable taking a position at the last minute.
I have discussed it with DTI for whatever that's worth. I've certainly discussed it with the people who do business on that street. I also discussed it with some folks who do business on another street to see if they would have any issue with this, and I would not be bringing it forward if I had been yelled at or anything had been thrown at me during those conversations, for whatever that's worth.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
So we have a motion and a second. Everybody understand the motion? All right. We're ready to vote?
Yes. Councilmember Valdivia-Akla?
Yes.
Okay, we have 7 yes with council members Kell and Hofer voting no, and we have 1 abstention, Councilmember Hiller. The motion carries.
Okay. Councilman Duncan, did you have another?
Yep, I've got another one. I've stated up here several times that I do have concerns with us not having budgeted for 2026 the position of a CFO. I think that is a critical position. I can rehash all my reasons why again, but I think you've heard it before. So here's my recommendation tonight, to make sure that that is covered, because my concern is if it's not in the budget, then that means we are not even actively attempting to recruit somebody for that position for a year plus, because we aren't actively recruiting for it now. I say this out loud, even though Josh knows it, because I want the world to know he and staff are doing a hell of a job, but we also need someone who's sitting in that other chair to assist the good work that they're doing, who's here every day. It is my understanding, I don't know where it is in this budget exactly, because I haven't in the book, but I know the $130,000 has been allocated for the additional hire of 2 people in code. So as an effort not to just add this to the budget, my motion would be to move the $130,000 allocated for additional code enforcement officers and put it towards a chief financial officer position. I'm also open to anywhere else there's money that we want to take for that position, but trying to find an offset so as to not create a budget hole.
The code people are next to you.
Who's the second?
Code people.
Okay, we have a motion and I believe a second from
Maybe about to tell me
Councilman
I
Dobler.
don't have that money.
City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share with council that funding is actually taken out of the budget right now for those 2 code positions. There hasn't been an amendment or anything to add that back. So we'd have to take funding from somewhere else in the budget to fund the $130,000.
Did we take that out?
Yeah, it's part of the proposed budget, sir. Yes.
Right, so what happened to that $130,000?
It was eliminated, like as part of our proposed budget. Like, we eliminated the 2 code positions, and with that elimination came a reduction of $130,000. So we'd have to find $130,000 somewhere else to actually put that back.
Okay. Well, give me 10 minutes, I guess. Or you can come up with a recommendation. But I just feel like we have to have that position. In fact, I'll be very honest. It bothers me that as a capital city, we don't feel like that's a position. I've been very clear on that. And so, okay. Well, I will remove my motion, I guess, until this meeting is over and figure something out.
Can I ask a question, Mayor?
Councilwoman Valdivia-Akla?
Okay, so the motion was put on there, and now the money's not there. So are we going to talk about places where it may possibly be taken from, or is it just effectively dead now?
Well, for this discussion right now, there's not any money available or identified as proposed by Councilman Duncan, unless the city manager tells this body that he can find $130,000 to fund that position. I don't know how we could move forward with that. So I'd leave it with the city manager that I know this is kind of a, not a short notice, but on-the-fly notice. I would say that I do support Councilman Duncan's thoughts with regards to a CFO for our city. I know that in trying to work this budget, those two positions were eliminated from code. My hope that that money would be able to be used for this proposed additional staff person. I guess that money has just filtered away, gone away.
So can I ask something, Mayor?
Yes.
I don't know if I am jumping ahead, but I was looking at the email about the city manager wanting the position for the independent auditor. And that is like 130,000. And I'm just going to be really blunt in that I believe that we should have an independent auditor, but I have little faith in any position that we've had there, that especially employees, and it's not that employees are always right, because they're not always right, or citizens, because it's not that citizens are always right, but there's been such a level with disappointment in the independent auditor role, whether that be because it was straight under, you know, in the police department, or it was under the city attorney, or what have you. I think that, you know, there's all kinds of things that we can put up about why that has not had a satisfactory kind of point that we can build on. And when that came forward, but yet having received nothing from Assistant City Manager more on what this new and hopefully better and more equitable position would look like, you know, I wasn't going to support that. But I mean, there's money there, and I think at this point a CFO you know, may be more beneficial, at least, Mayor, for dialogue whenever the time may allow. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, actually, go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then I'll... Yeah.
Just very quickly, I would take issue that an internal auditor is something that we don't need. I think it's important that we continue in that direction. So I wouldn't want to switch one out for the other if that was the case. But I'm interested to hear what the city manager has to say on that point.
Thank you, Mayor. So for the two items, one, for the CFO, if it be the pleasure of the city council, what could be considered is reduction of our e-citation enhancement. We've gotten some additional information from consultants that we can actually reduce about the 130,000 that was coming out of the general fund. We can reduce that if we wanted to use that to fund the CFO position. That's recurring funding. It's not one time. So that would be a recurring 130,000 that we can use should the governing body wish to consider that for the chief financial officer position. Speaking to the discussion that was ensuing about an auditor, it's not an auditor. It's an internal investigator, which is currently within the city attorney's office. I've been advised that we do not need to actually transfer the funding, but what I do need I need to transfer the FTE from the city attorney's office to the city manager's office. The vision would be that we would actually have that position report directly to Assistant City Manager Moore. And what I want to do is build, without adding anything else, build an office of municipal integrity or something along those lines, and then have that position report directly to provide reports and updates on any kind of public complaints or anything. Think of oversight to our Human Relations Commission, which is actually set up for that. I did speak with Chair Surratt last week about that. He's definitely, excited about the HRC taking on that type of reporting. And again, it would be a place for the public. It would be a place for questions that the community had regarding any issue with the city from a public perspective. And so I don't have that firmed up completely yet, but the motion or the amendment that I sent earlier was to move that position out from city attorney's office, move it under the city manager's office, and then work with the Human Relations Commission on the reports. And again, high level, that's the vision for that. But just to the two items that we're discussing right now.
Okay, well, I appreciate the additional. So that does give us an opportunity then, it sounds like, that we could have, in fact, $130,000 set aside for us for a position for a CFO if we were able to obtain one. Is that correct?
And the position is already authorized. All we did was we just froze the funding for it, so we just need to put the funding back for it.
Okay. So that was your motion? Or not?
Yeah, I think there was someone else in front of me, so
You're the
if they want to speak to this.
Okay, Councilwoman Ortiz just popped up.
If not, I got a couple. Okay. I'll make one comment so everybody is, on the auditor position, I will say that on the Policy and Finance Committee, that was one of the recommendations of the group that met, and we, starting at our next meeting, will be breaking down those recommendations, and that's one that we will take a deeper dive into as to what the cost would be, what that would look like, so if we bring it back to this body, we can actually give a detailed explanation of what do they do, who they report to, all of that stuff. So if that helps everybody know, we are on track to take a look at that and possibly bring that back at some point to this body, so that whether we don't do that tonight, everyone should know we're moving forward with that in Policy and Finance. I guess two questions then. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No.
Okay, so two questions then. Can you explain one more time what fund you're talking about for that $130,000?
Yes, sir. So we have an enhancement in the budget, proposed budget for e-citations. It's currently funded at $500,000. E-citation, yeah. So that's basically where we are looking to work with Tyler and others to allow our police officers to issue citations electronically, probably even using their phones to be able to do that. Part of the benefit of that is, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's from a customer service perspective. When you're getting a ticket, a speeding ticket or something, our officers will be able to automatically assign a court date today. If somebody writes a citation or a ticket, they have to take the paper copy to municipal courts. Municipal courts has to enter it in, and then they'll call in for a date or something. The vision for this is that an officer will automatically be able to give the ticket electronically. It's printed out. The information is automatically put into court system, so that reduces or eliminates the manual entry, the loss of tickets, etc. And it's for better. It's all electronic, so it reduces the manual work for it. Sure. And so we had initially projected that at a $500,000 cost. 130 of that was going to come from general funds, and then the combination of the rest of it was going to come from the municipal courts.
The court technology fund and the IT fund.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Randy and the team have worked to refine that cost with consultants. We can take the $130,000 out, and that's what I had originally planned to have a discussion around.
Okay, well then before I make my next motion, I want to make sure I'm reading something right. To that point, on page 66 of our budget book, am I reading it right that IT has an additional $350,000 not calculated either? I mean, if I look at revenues and expenses, it says $350,064.
So what you're looking at there, so right under that on page 66, is that would be an increase in the fund balance, so revenues and expenses. So the reason that we've charged more for revenues than expenses, because conceptually thinking like this, we charge other funds to pay for the IT fund. And the IT fund over the last couple of years has been in negative fund balance, so we're trying to build that cash flow back up. That's why it is set as revenues higher than expenses for the 2026 budget.
And the goal is to move those dollars into that fund eventually.
Yeah, to get back to zero, yeah.
Okay. I guess worst case, you can always take the money from there for the second. But, okay, well then I'm gonna make a new motion that we move to take, and hopefully it says, move to take $130,000 allocated for the e-citation fund and put it towards a chief financial officer position. If that's the right fund, if I'm referring to it correctly.
General fund, sir.
General fund, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that would be my motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second by Councilman Dobler.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right, ready to vote. Councilmember Valdivia Akla?
Yes.
Okay, we have 10 yes, the motion carries.
Okay. I know this has been long for the audience that's still with us, but the council would like to take a short 10-minute break before we proceed with any further amendments on the budget. I think it's appropriate that we give it time to make sure everybody gets their opportunity to speak on the amendments. And I hope that the persons that signed up will stay with us so they can have their opportunity. So it is 20:41. Take 10 minutes. We are recessed. Our recess. We'll continue discussions under action item C, appropriation ordinance and amendments to the budget. So we'll continue with that. Do we have any other amendments that want to be brought forward by the governing body? City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually defer to Councilman Dobler if he has one first.
Oh, no, I was just going to move to approve the whole thing. Go ahead.
If I could just get City Council's consideration on the second item that I brought forward, moving that internal investigator from the City Attorney's FTE count to the City Manager's FTE count. So that way we just, as mentioned, there's some kinks that need to be ironed out first. But really the vision is to have that position report to Assistant City Manager Moore, build some kind of Office of Municipal Integrity or something along those lines. And basically the reports that the internal investigator is supposed to be providing to the HRC, that resumes. So that would be my ask, is just the FTE count from City Attorney's Office to City Manager's Office.
Okay. If there's...
It doesn't, yeah. The email that I sent out earlier mentioned making an adjustment to the special liability funds mill rate, reducing that one and increasing the general funds. But I think we made the determination that we can proceed with the plan without that adjustment.
Okay.
Thank you.
So would the motion be...
I have a question, Mayor.
Pardon?
Whenever.
Councilwoman Valdivia Akla?
Can I ask a question, or do you want me to wait?
Go ahead, ask the question.
Okay. Can I just reiterate, Councilman Duncan, can you tell me this is something that Policy and Finance is having a review as far as the position and all of that?
No, Councilwoman, these are two separate positions. The one that the city manager is talking about is the internal investigator position, and moving it from where it currently is into the city manager's office so that they can do some additional restructuring. The internal auditor is the one who would look at, finances on a regular basis and come back with recommendations to the governing body. That's the position that the Policy and Finance team is looking at.
Hey, well, going back to the one that we're looking at for getting under the city, Assistant City Manager Moore's office, I would hope that something would be forthcoming that spells out exactly what the position entails and that reports, because this is long before you, City Manager, reports not being consistently put out on for transparency's sake, reports not consistently being given to the governing body. And my deep concern, and glad now that it's being moved out of the city, out from under the city attorney's office, because I don't feel that there's the transparency and separateness that it needs. But I think that we need to see something more productive in the way of oversight from that office, going under assistant city manager, because there were a lot of complaints internally as well as externally, but internally, and somehow they keep finding their way to me, especially in the utilities department. And with people feeling that not only is there no open door policy, that, but also of the process itself. So I hope that is something that we can expect to get as a governing body, because there needs to be better oversight and investigating. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Hofer.
City Manager, what is the name of the new position, or approximately?
It's a current position right now. It's the internal
Yeah, I
investigator.
know, but the new.
So I was thinking something along the lines.
We don't have a title?
It's the internal investigator position that currently exists. It's just moving that position to the city manager's office.
Okay, then cost, is it going to be equivalent?
Equal, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, right now, do you want that part of our overall approval for the
Yes.
budget?
Yes, Mayor, please.
I would support that. So I need a motion from the governing body. Motion to approve by Deputy Mayor.
Is this for the position?
Yeah, just for the position.
Okay, so who's making that motion? Councilmember Kale?
Kel?
Let me get it added in here first.
I'll second it.
Okay. Internal and position. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
You want to restate it?
It is transferring the internal, do you say, investigator position from the city attorney's office to the city manager's office.
Yep.
And the salary will remain the same, correct? All right. Okay, we have Kel and who made the second on that? Sorry. The mayor. All right. So, all right, so we got Kel and the mayor. Okay, you can vote. Councilmember Valdiviacla?
Yes.
Okay, we have 10 yes, the motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Further amendments from the governing body. Okay. Deputy Mayor Kell?
That's still from the previous one, I think.
Oh.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the budget as amended.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Dover to approve the budget as amended with a second from Councilman Miller? Okay.
Let me, hold on just a second.
Councilwoman Hiller?
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate all this work with mixed feelings. I'm going to go ahead and vote no, just because we have not made substantial cuts. I appreciate all the work, and I look forward to the next couple months, hopefully making some progress. Thank you.
Thank you for all your work. All right, we're ready to vote.
All right. Go ahead and vote. Councilmember Valdiviacla?
Yes.
Okay, we have 8 yes, with council members Hiller and Hofer voting no, the motion carries.
Okay. Thank you for all your discussion and your suggestions. That's the last of our action items. Now we move to public comment. And Mr. McClure?
Your Honor, thank you. I want to talk about Cora. I just sent around something that's been floating around for about a month. Usually Cora has to be answered by Kansas law in 3 business days. Now, my request is not unreasonable when it comes to the fact that it's about spending sales tax money. Your contractor at Jetto, they don't feel that they have to tell me the actual vote count, person by person. They think they're above the United States of America, Senate, and Congress. You can, anytime there's a vote on something, you can see the vote tally. Because then that way you know whether you want to vote for that guy or not again in the future. Same under the dome here in Kansas. You can look at the Senate. You can look at the House. You know, I know the 4 people that voted in favor of keeping that Citizens Commission. 4 House members. When Senate bill failed so quickly. We get to tell how you vote and the county votes. But go to Topeka, they don't think that they're subject to Cora, and they're wrong. And I've asked several times. It's unfair to not know where $9.5 million went when it comes to the AT&T building. Sales tax money. And I shouldn't, as a citizen, have to sue my friends and neighbors that sit up there and list them as individuals. It shouldn't come to that. Not when it comes to Cora. The DA ought to be helping me. KGay ought to be helping me get this information. Your new city attorney ought to say, you know something? Hey, he's right. I gotta get this information. Kobach, he should help me. I mean, I think the last thing you guys want is the federal government nosing around here, but I know where to find them. But this is serious. Not getting a Cora request, and I'm telling you something, this is the last time you want this kind of attention on this. Now, let's talk about, one of your compadres was asking, they want to know the top 10 companies who's getting tax breaks. Well, let's start off with Cody Foster at Advisors Excel. The AT&T building only pays $3,500 in real estate taxes. Now, this guy manages $43 billion worth of money. And you're giving him $9.5 million to keep Go Topeka in business into something that already failed at Wolf's Camera. I was telling the Jump people, you guys are the last people to be managing money, and I just wanted to get this in because time's a-waning. But they ought to talk to Mary Thomas of CRC and have them start their own 501(c)(3)s and not be managed by the YMCA anymore, the YW. But they ought to be going, and you guys ought to be going to every one of the foundations and start getting money from the corporations. Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay. No one else has signed up for public comment? We'll move on to announcements. Madam Clerk?
There is no council meeting next week.
What? What? What am I gonna do? City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to all of the staff, all the teams, all the council members for their input on this budget process and what was ultimately adopted tonight. I just wanted to express my appreciation for everybody involved in this. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Duncan?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to address two things tonight. One is, obviously there was an article story as we continue to deal with Lawrence Bay, both issues regarding plans for one developer has, other issues that the county has taken. And I just want to say, you know, for me, this has never been about an individual developer. It's always been about the citizens and what's best for them, what's best for the city, what gets us houses built, and what gets us money back in our pockets as taxpayers, one way or another. I remind people this thing was created before many of us got on this council. There's no simple solutions. And I think our first effort from those of us who had to approach this for the first time basically said, can we work with the current people who own it out there to make sure they can build houses and get money back from them that they owed? We've tried that path to some mixed results, I would say. And I don't know what the future of that is. I don't know that that door is completely closed, but it's closing a little with actions that the county has taken. I have met with Mr. Doltmeyer and discussed his plans and ideas. It's not the terrible plan. I do remind people, though, that at some point, there's 8 taxing entities in this city, and they have to be made whole. So it's not as simple as, great, give us the properties, put them in the land bank, and all is good. Somebody has to make those other 7 taxing entities whole, and under that plan proposed, part of that idea is that we would do that. Maybe that's, and then recoup those dollars over time as those properties are sold. Maybe that's a great idea, maybe it's a terrible idea, but I want people to understand a little bit more about what that idea looks like as it's been discussed. The last thing I'll say is the county, part of the complication of this has been that the county, under state law, is responsible for collecting back taxes. The specials that we've assessed, that's certainly up to us. My position has always been, it doesn't make sense for us to simply go after the specials until some action is taken on the tax piece. That action has now been taken. And so I think we'll talk at some point, I think, as a body, as to whether we need to play a role in that as part of that process so that our interests are protected. I'm open to that. I just wanted to say that that's something I think, you know, and we've gotten some of that information, and I know we'll get more to see if we need to take some steps. So it's complicated, and here we go again, but I want people to know we are on top of it as a governing body, and I know that everybody, while I don't never speak for my colleagues, I know everybody in this body has the intention of making sure the houses get built, and then we find a resolution that gets money put back in the taxpayer's pocket. Second thing is, real quick on the budget tonight, I know that what we're going to hear tomorrow, and that's fine, I guess, the narrative will be your taxes went up, right? Because property tax valuations went up, i.e., we kept our mill levy flat, and so yes, there will be a 4 to 5% increase in people's property taxes. But I've said this a lot, I know I'm a broken record on it. There's a disconnect in the system when we as a city have not raised the mill levy in 14 years, have lowered it the last couple years. If you live in the city of Topeka, your overall mill rate has gone down over the last few years. Your property taxes have gone up. Does that mean we don't continue to have a role to play? Of course not. It does mean that there are fixes that need to be made with the valuation system to complete that disconnect, to assist local governments in saying that while we are reducing budgets and reducing mills, the state needs to help us out with that process. So that's going to be the narrative, but here's what the narrative should be, right? We started this process early. Staff worked hard on this from day one. We held workshops where we went line by line. We started off with a pretty significant deficit, and what we passed tonight was a balanced budget. So we closed that gap. Is it perfect? No, it is not, right? It never is. It is a messy process. And are we going to have some tough decisions as we walk through the CIP process and the end of the year and next year? Yeah, we are. And we have no idea what the economy is going to look like, what's going to happen in the world, and what the impacts of those are going to be. But we made tough cuts. Every department, every member of the staff, department heads, made tough decisions, did the work that was requested of them, and I appreciate that. We did eliminate positions. So when people say, why don't you eliminate? We did. We have eliminated positions, and starting in 26, there will be less jobs in city government than there were when we started this process, right? And again, we're not done. As we go through the CIP, we're also going to have to make some difficult decisions. So I get it. It's not perfect, but I do think I want to say thank you to staff and the city manager and all those folks who started this process early, to the work we did and to where we got, because we did end up with a balanced budget. And like I said, we got work to do, but I appreciate all the work that everybody put in. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hofer.
I'm just going to do a quick shout out to the Topeka Shawnee County Public Library. Today they opened the Book Nook. It is located on the second floor of Westridge Mall near the food court. And it's going to be a space, if somebody has kids are walking around, they need to take a break, they need to sit down, they can go in and they can read a book. They will have story time on a regular basis. There's books in there if adults want to go in and sit down and take a break from shopping. I think it's a nice asset to our community, so anytime you're out at the mall, please stop in and check it out.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. As a longtime, community developer and manager, I do, for better or for worse, live in the future. So I look ahead and see where we are and worry about it and try and engage myself, but certainly all of you as well, to looking ahead. I would hope that as we move forward from this time toward these next couple of months at the end of the year, that we step back. I mean, that's what worked for me was and again, I'll bring that forward when we meet further, but was to say, okay, we've got these numbers that we've got to make fly, but what else? Why are we here? What are our core duties, and are we doing them well? Is there a way we can do them better? Whether it has to do with money or management and so on. And similarly, if there are other things that we care about that aren't a core function of government, still what's our role? And if we, for instance, with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, have just been going like this, let's identify those things that we've been kicking the can for a while on and figure them out. For the most part, with many of those things, whether it's fixing streets or doing affordable housing or helping neighborhoods revitalize, when we step back, we know what the solutions are. We've heard that, or we've seen it, or we know somebody we can ask. And then to sit down and say, are we doing it that way here? Let's go. I'd like to see all those various things fall into place between now and, in as much as we can, one at a time between now and the end of the year, but having them in mind for the retreat when we all get to talk to each other around the table. I thought that our conversations this evening were important. We've needed to do this kind of conversation, and I appreciate everybody's preparation for it and participation in it. And thank you.
Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala.
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I always like September, but I also like to see it go because October is my favorite month. And if you knew why, I'll let Fire Chief Interim Chad Longstaff come up and tell us a little bit about what's going to happen in October.
You woke him up.
He should know I was going to be excited. Oh my gosh. Family-friendly events, come on, tell them what's going to happen.
Well, October 4th is open house. So I want the community to come out and see everything. It's our first one for, I think, about 8 years, maybe, 8, 9 years. Okay. So we'll have that. And October 3rd, first Friday, we'll have an open house at number 1 fire station. That'll be from 3 to 5. So October 4th, 10 to 2, we'll set up our apparatus outside, do some high angle rescue, bunch of stuff there. So October 11th would be the finish of fire prevention. We have Explorers here, and then we got a wife that is in charge of the Explorers in Lawrence. So they'll compete October 11th against each other. So, which is first time, pretty nice. So everybody needs to come to that.
Chief Longstaff, I want to thank you for opening your doors to the community like we used to. It was awesome. Are you prepared to give us a boot count amount?
Oh, I don't know what that was.
Oh, my goodness. You remember that?
I think it was, God, what was it? I don't.
Chief, I think it was $40,000 some odd dollars,
Yeah.
which exceeded
42.
which exceeded previous. Right, go ahead.
Yeah.
40,000.
And
we haven't done that for a while too.
Right.
Been a few years, COVID hit, so we haven't been out on the streets. So,
Right. Well, we were glad you were in the streets in a positive way.
Yeah.
So thank you. October will be fun, and don't forget if
Cotton
you don't.
candy, popcorn,
That's
hot
right.
dogs.
He's just a big little kid. That's all he is. Thank you. And if you don't have that smoke detector yet, it's not too late to get it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Banks?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor. I don't talk much.
Deputy Mayor?
A few things. Wanted to address what Councilman Duncan said earlier, that the loss for his mother was a loss for Topeka. She was a great woman who would always give me advice, encouragement, kind words, and then believed in me when I didn't sometimes believe in myself. So it's very sad news to hear of her passing. This last Saturday was Brew at the Zoo. It was an amazing event again. Second year in a row I went. I volunteered for the dunk tank, and that was a blast. It was fun to run in people that I hadn't seen in a long time, and they were ready to line up. The one thing I'm proud of and disappointed of is I think my oldest spent like $25 to dunk me and never got one shot. So proud of that. I stayed on the seat. Disappointed that she didn't at least hit the target once. But the money went to a great cause. And finally, I'd like to address one more thing. Sorry, I have all my thoughts are composed on this. I wanted to talk about what happened last Wednesday afternoon in Utah. Charlie Kirk was murdered. I've been mostly quiet and wanted to compose my thoughts and hear the facts of this tragedy. Before this happened, I would think he needs to be careful. He's going to get hurt. But right after, I realized he shouldn't have to worry about other people hurting him for having an open dialogue. I did not agree with many of Mr. Kirk's views. But what I did agree with was he wanted to have an open discussion and debates about any subject, allowing each side to have their turn and back and forth. I saw one of Mr. Kirk's videos yesterday where he said have an open mind but firm beliefs, which I kind of wholeheartedly agree with, on having an open mind on almost any subject. This was an act of hate, at this point, by one person. This was not thought up, planned, or carried out by any group of political, ideological, religious, race, or sexual orientation, but one person. The aftermath of last Wednesday was sad. The blame game was rampant. So many rumors, accusations, speculations, all without evidence. Unfortunately, people made posts on social media condoning and celebrating Mr. Kirk's death. Then people reacted by doxing or outing those people and their employers or businesses they own, sometimes doxing the wrong person or the wrong business, or view bombing businesses people worked at or owned, again, sometimes the wrong businesses. There's people like, let's say, a Mike's service station in Tennessee that did nothing wrong, was getting nailed with items. So it's be very careful about what your motives are and how you go about it, because you can end up hurting a lot of innocent people by trying to support something. Over the past week, I've watched several hours of Charlie Kirk's campus visits across the country in the last couple of years. One thing I did notice is Mr. Kirk defended other people's right to be themselves and have the beliefs, even if he did not agree due to his beliefs. I even saw a couple times instances where Mr. Kirk stated he was wrong on his previous beliefs on certain statements he had previously made, which goes back to the quote I shared earlier about having an open mind. The murder of Charlie Kirk, Melissa Hortman of the Minnesota House of Representatives, school shootings, church shootings, and bombings keep being made into political ideological events in their aftermath. This is not a conservative or Republican thing. This is not a liberal or a Democrat thing. Over 40% of Americans do not identify with either side. The perpetrators of these crimes are individuals who may fall into a specified group, but they do not represent or speak for that group. Hold the individual accountable for the individual's acts, whether you align with them or not. We need to stop slapping labels on everyone who disagrees with you and your opinions. Like I said before, over 40% of Americans do not identify with either side. We have become very divisive over the last couple of years and have the mentality of you're either with us or you're against us. We need to be working on solutions together on our societal issues. Together, coming to reasonable compromises that benefit the majority. It is okay to be angry when something like this happens. It is not okay to blindly hate in the aftermath. Do not let hate perpetuate more hate. It is okay to disagree. It is okay to have different belief. It is not okay. It is okay not to like someone, but it's not okay to be violent to someone due to disagreement, different beliefs, or because you don't like them. The biggest thing we can do, the biggest thing we can do is have an open dialogue with each other and free speech, without judgment, and more importantly, without violence. Open your eyes, your heart, and your minds. This was not a message for or against Charlie Kirk, but a support of his mission of open discussions, free speech, and giving everyone a chance to discuss issues. Thank you.
Councilman Miller.
Nothing, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Dover.
Just real quick, I want to thank the staff as well for the work on the budget, especially Josh. I know he did a ton of work, and maybe it'll be easier next year with the CFO. Thank you.
Well, I would reiterate all the work that has been done by staff, but all the work too that this council has done. Everybody took their responsibility to contribute and dig in and offer suggestions, took it seriously, and that's appreciated. There is a item that we would like to take up under executive order, so there is a need for one executive session this evening if the city attorney would read.
The motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 15 minutes to give legal advice relating to financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, potential tax issues, and other specific topics deemed privileged under attorney-client privilege as allowed under KSA 75-4319B2 and B4. The open meeting will resume in this room in the governing body chambers. The following staff will be necessary to assist the governing body in its deliberations: the city manager, the interim city attorney, and any other staff members as needed.
Okay, you've heard the need for an executive session. Is there a motion to go into session? And there's a motion by Councilwoman Hiller. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Aye. That was pretty enthusiastic. Okay, we'll go into executive session immediately. Coming out. Okay, we've concluded our discussions during our executive session. No action has been taken. No further business comes before this body. The meeting is adjourned.